A judge has ordered Donald Trump to dissolve the Trump Organization. I didn't believe it when I first heard it because this is the most egregious action I think we've seen yet. It's not just trying to criminally charge him, which is crazy, don't get me wrong, but they're outright saying they are going to shut down this, multi-billion-dollar real estate company. At least it's just in New York, so we'll see how this plays out. Trump is going to appeal. But man, I don't see it stopping here. It is not even 2024 yet. But wait, many of you may be saying, well, what's going to happen? I mean, Trump's leading in the polls. He is. Joe Biden's failing among Black and Latino voters. But now we're learning that the classified document probe into Joe Biden is expanding, and Gavin Newsom in the prediction markets is starting to go up. So maybe I'll be really happy if by next year I'm right that Joe Biden ends up being removed or drops out or something, because I'm like crossing my fingers. I'm like, please don't be wrong, because I just cannot see a path for Joe Biden moving forward. But we're going to talk about this plus a whole bunch of other stories. We've got New York. I think what's New York paying, Libby? Is it $1 billion?
Yeah.
$1 billion.
It's $1 billion over the next 3 years.
Wow.
To house illegal immigrants.
Well, we are going to talk about all that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to Timcast.com, click Timcast IRL X Miami, and pick up your tickets to see Patrick Bet-David, James O'Keefe, Matt Gaetz, Luke Rudkowski, me, Ian Crossland, plus a whole bunch of extra guests. We got Alex Stein. He's going to be doing an opening set. It's going to be fantastic. We hope to see you there October 6th in Miami. So it is coming up. But also, click Join Us. Become a member to support our work directly. If you think the work we do is important, then we need your support because it's basically how we run the company. But as a member, you get access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals who are building culture. There's an early show, there's an after show where you can hang out with people who are discussing all of these issues beyond just the conversation we have. And they're working on projects, they're making music and doing really cool things. As a member of the Discord, you can even submit questions and call into the uncensored portion of the show, which is Monday through Thursday. And honestly, it's one of the most fun. So I really do think tonight's members only uncensored is going to be truly epic, because joining us, we have a man who tried to warn us 10 years ago, Carl Benjamin.
Thank you for having me.
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm the director of loadcease.com. Not a very controversial person. Haven't really had much press attention, so I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
That's right. Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Like
Thank
that's you
for
going,
coming.
I'm shy.
So when I first started, after I left Fusion and I started producing YouTube videos, I got tremendous help from Carl, who hit me up and said, you're doing good work.
Yeah, I love what you did.
I appreciate your honesty. Would you like to make a video for my channel? And you had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I had like none. And then after I made the video for your channel, it put me over 100,000 subs and I got my silver medal. So I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Excited to have you here, man. This is going to be a blast. And Libby, of course, is here. I asked her already.
I'm already here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who
What
are
did you
you?
ask me already?
Well, I asked you about the money because it's a post-millennial story.
Well, it is a post-millennial story. Yeah, $1 billion. I'm good. I'm Libby Emmons. I'm here representing the post-millennial and humanevents.com.
Right on. Phil's here, of course.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains, very failed musician, anti-communist, and counter-revolutionary. That's staying. That is absolutely staying.
That's amazing. It's like a title before your name. Failed
Absolutely.
musician.
That's brilliant.
And you just got a new gold record.
I did. I was just informed today. Thank
Classic
you.
failed musician.
I was just informed today that another single has gone gold. So that I think it's 5 gold and a platinum, and you know.
That's a lot of
What
failure,
a loser.
Phil.
Yeah.
Jesus. Can't believe I'm hanging out with this guy.
I appreciate you looking down, coming into the plebs and hanging. So
That's right. Hannah Claire's here.
Hey, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. I'm grateful to be here with this lack of musical talent. And of course, our favorite DJ Serge is here too.
I am. Man, I knew you did something in music, Phil. I just never put my finger on it. Anyways, let's get started.
Keep trying, buddy. Keep trying, buddy.
Someday.
You'll find success, man.
All right, let's jump into this first story. This is absolutely insane. This is from Messenger Politics. Donald Trump's New York business empire must be dissolved, judge rules. Legal experts have described the extraordinarily rare order issued by a New York judge aimed at Trump's major businesses as the corporate death penalty. Crazy. Look at this. A New York judge on Tuesday canceled the certificates of the key businesses behind Donald Trump's empire, ordering a quick timeline to dissolve the Trump Organization and other corporate entities. Okay, there's so much here. First, I don't know exactly how Trump runs his businesses, but I have to imagine Trump is a New York guy, famously coming in and saving the city and the state, which means I'm assuming his businesses are registered, many of them in New York, and I would imagine are operating as a foreign corporation in other states. That's what it's called. So you file that. Now, considering how long he's been around, I would not be surprised if the bulk of his business may actually be out of Delaware or Nevada. We'll see.
Right.
But this is New York. Trump has, there's documentaries about how New York was failing, and Trump came in and said, I'm going to turn this city around. And he did. And he's got, how many buildings does he have in New York? I mean, official Trump buildings. There are 2 of them?
Well, he has like a whole thing on the west side. There's a bunch of Trump towers on the west side.
More than one?
Yeah. Wow. Well, he's got like a whole enterprise over there. And then he's also got the Trump Tower, which is right, I want to say it's right near Columbus Circle. I know that I've been there before.
I got my MAGA hat there in 2017.
Right? Awesome. Yeah, that's a good spot for it.
That's the Trump International Hotel, I think.
The Trump International, yeah. And then he also has a Trump Tower
on Fifth Avenue.
On Fifth Avenue. I went to a party in a penthouse there once. It was amazing.
There's this giant golden Trump building there. I was like, you know what? I think I'm getting the MAGA hat. And so I just walked in and got it.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Trump did an awful lot for the city. He was born there. He was raised there. And these are people who have been determined to take him down. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York State, ran her campaign on destroying Donald Trump. So did stupid Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, who's, of course, working to destroy Donald Trump. All of these people, they just hate him so much.
This is nuts.
It's not, it doesn't seem to have any real legal basis. Even this judge hates Trump and has said so before.
So they're saying that basically, we have this from CNBC, Trump and company liable for fraud in New York lawsuit, judge rules. This is not even a criminal proceeding.
That's right.
This is a civil case. And they are, so look at this. The messenger says 10 corporate entities, DJT Revocable Trust, right? I'm assuming that has something to do with his personal life, which is likely where he holds certain properties in his personal portfolio or family, not related to, so it depends. I mean, you never really know. I mean, you could do a lot of stuff with a trust, but I'm assuming the trust is probably for holding his property, personal stuff. The Trump Organization LLC, those right there. I mean, that's it. That's Trump, the Trump Organization. This is nuts. And then they mentioned a bunch of others like DJT Holdings Managing Member LLC. Some of these are, whatever. 401 North Wabash Venture LLC. This is basically just a building. Trump Old Post Office LLC, 40 Wall Street LLC. Basically, when you buy big property,
you create it. Yeah.
You create a private entity that owns that property. Why? Okay. If you, regular citizen, sir, many of you own homes. If you own 2 houses and someone slips and falls in one, they can sue and take both your houses. You create a corporate entity, it shields you to a certain degree. So it always makes more sense to start a company. The company owns the property, you own the company, and that limits liability. Hey, how about that? So this means they're canceling the business that owns a building?
Yeah. So Trump has a lot of these corporations that own buildings, and they're canceling them on him. I wonder what's going to happen to Mar-a-Lago.
Well, Mar-a-Lago is Florida.
And Don Jr. owns it, I believe.
Really?
I believe he turned it over to Don Jr. a good few years ago.
So
That's
they
my
say,
understanding.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't own as much after his term as president, right?
Like maybe Bedminster. I don't see Bedminster on there.
So they say Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, vowed to appeal the decision, which she called fundamentally flawed at every level. The fact that this court summarily found that there is no question of fact, finding in part that Mar-a-Lago is worth approximately $20 million, and issue a decision of this magnitude is an affront to our legal system. We intend to immediately appeal this decision because President Trump and his family, like every American business owner, is entitled to their day in court. So it was a summary judgment?
That doesn't seem at all reasonable.
I mean, okay, I didn't even know that. This story is breaking. But hold on. They say Judge Arthur Engoron canceled New York business certificates for Trump, the Trump Organization, other defendants, including 2 of his sons. Wow.
And they dismissed the lawsuit against Ivanka, I think in June.
But was this a summary judgment? So this is Attorney General Letitia James. She filed this, and then the judge just banged the gavel. Yeah. Engoron, in granting partial summary judgment to James in the case, found that Trump made false and misleading valuations. This means Trump didn't even come and argue. The judge they file their paperwork, they file their arguments, and the judge goes, nah, done. Mm-hmm. Yo, wow.
Yeah, that's really messed up.
If they can actually essentially take the property by a summary judgment, I mean, then obviously that means that no one's property is safe anymore.
Well, which is of course what Trump's been saying this whole time, is that he's between the essential police and lawfare state and the rest of us.
I gotta stop. This is crazy. Look at this. Engoron also ordered sanctions of $7,500 for 5 attorneys who represented the Trump defendants for making frivolous and previously rejected arguments in court filings. This is crazy.
Yeah, you're not allowed to represent Trump. They're doing that in Georgia too.
Yeah.
I mean, they went for his attorneys.
To call this unprecedented is an understatement of the highest order.
It's an unprecedented understatement.
I mean, it really is. And again, this, and not that I'm trying to get Tim fired up again, but if the government is taking people's property and stuff, then the government is acting lawlessly. What recourse do the people have if you can't rely on the law? And where does this head? I'm not going to say it, but I don't see the off ramp.
Can I interject here?
Sure.
I think the framing is wrong, right? Because this isn't the government. Because the government implies kind of a neutral entity that takes bipartisan consideration of all parties in the country, and the people being themselves a kind of non-partisan entity that just exists separate from the state. It's like it's kind of an archaic way of looking at it. What you have is a left-wing insurgent movement
100%.
that has taken over your country and is now persecuting the former president.
Yeah.
You can't overstate just how over your country is. I mean this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just bad, right? A country is predicated on goodwill between both parties. Right? No, you don't have goodwill. What you have is an active persecution of the former president, man. Your country is over. And now what's being settled is who gets to rule over the ruins.
All right, look. I certainly think we have our issues here in the United States, but I think, hey, Phil, someone's a little salty about 7076 over here.
Oh, man.
I was going to say, I mean, the man who comes from a failed empire himself.
Right? But I'm very much in the dock that, hey, 1776 was a good thing, and Trump should never have had a mugshot.
No, I agree. I'm just kidding.
You're living in a banana republic, and your ex-president's being persecuted.
I've heard Carl say that the United States is actually the total fulfillment of the English common law of what England was supposed to be before. So I know that he doesn't have the.
So it's constitutional republic envy.
I've become a bit more conservative since then.
Oh no!
Because this isn't happening in my country.
No, your government's just going after businesses like Rumble.
Sure,
that's
but
correct.
That's not my property. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I think you're right because Attorney General Letitia James campaigned on being an activist. She was open from the beginning.
Of everything.
She didn't say, I'm going to uphold the law and be a representation of fairness. She said, we are going to disrupt the system. We're going to go after Trump. And she is open about her preferences for left-wing causes. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that she is specifically persecuting.
I mean, these people are fighting a war against you. Right?
Yes.
You do understand that. They're actively in arms against you with all of the legal mechanisms they can find.
This is a cultural revolution.
It is. And they're going to extirpate Trump from public life as much as they can. They're going to take everything from him as much as they can. And anyone who stands in alliance with him, I mean, Rudy Giuliani, for me, is crazy. The fact that, he's got a mugshot too. That was America's mail, wasn't it?
He's the greatest.
Yeah, he was the guy at 9/11. Right?
Yes.
He's
Rudy
the guy,
Giuliani.
America's
He's not just though.
Exactly. But he's the guy who fucking ridded New York of crime, right?
It's before 9/11. He cleaned up the city amazingly well.
Yeah, right. He got rid of the mobs and stuff, right? And if Rudy Giuliani can essentially be paraded around in chains like the failed opposition in a Roman civil war with Donald Trump and everyone else around him, I mean, what kind of country?
Failed Roman Civil War. Tell me more. What is it?
Well, I mean, in a Roman Civil War, basically the losing party get killed, right? But they're on the path to doing that. They're not going to kill Donald Trump. That's going to ruin him. So he's like old blind Belisarius begging for pennies outside of Rome. Right?
I don't know that they wouldn't kill him should it look like he's going to win come November.
If they could, they would, but they won't.
They might try and kill him before. I mean, did you see what's her name? Megyn Kelly was talking about that.
Yeah, no, they're going to do this.
She was saying that she's concerned that people are going to try and assassinate Trump.
Yeah, I think the time for that's passed. I think they've got the machine in motion, and what they're going to do is just systematically grind down Trump and everyone associated with him. Everything MAGA, everything protester.
So,
but they're going to stigmatize it as terrorism.
But this is why,
which they've been doing already.
Yeah.
And this, I do think it's not just Trump. I think this is what we see with Russell Brand as well.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me that they all of a sudden decided to start investigating and caring about what Russell Brand did decades ago, when at the time they certainly didn't care. And they've protected much worse.
The thing about Russell Brand, though, is this was an intentional media takedown. You had the Times in London. They started doing this investigation into Russell Brand. They're the ones who contacted these women. The women said they were only prepared to come forward after they'd been contacted by press. They also said that they were only coming forward because they were encouraged to come forward now as a reaction to Brand's newfound success.
Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't like that. That's what was published in the Times. And then you had, right after that, you had NBC start contacting all of the advertisers who sponsored Brand on YouTube, and like on all of his channels. It was NBC reaching out that got, Vivo Barefoot or whatever else, and the Sticker Mule company to say that they were going to disavow Brand and pull it. And then after that, the News Movement, which is this company that was founded in 2020, launched last year, is owned by some people who used to work for the Dow Jones and BBC. They then started going after Rumble's advertisers. After Rumble said that they backed free speech and backed Russell Brand, this other organization went after their advertisers. This was a concerted effort. And of course, you had the British government.
We do have a story I want to talk about in a bit about Russell Brand. But the reason I bring this up, and I think it's warranted, is because the conversation doesn't stop with Trump. They are, as you said, Carl, trying to ruin him. But this does not stop with Trump. It's especially right now as we're entering 2024. We know that, what was it, 2018? I said this last night with Alex Jones, and they went after Paul Joseph Watson, Alex Jones, Laura Loomer.
That's right.
Donald.
Eventually,
not
they
Trump.
will get to Joe Rogan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Joe Rogan has now repeated himself with Patrick Bet-David saying that he would vote for Trump over Biden. I mean, you cannot have this.
No.
So there is an effort here. And I think if you look at Julian Assange as an example of how they deal with this, surprise, surprise. Oh, Russell Brand, Me Too, all this stuff. It is a similar theme. Donald Trump, same thing. In, was it Bergdorf? Was it the department store?
Bergdorf Goodman's.
Yep. They said that he showed up, no one noticed. And they found him liable. Notice they're not doing criminal charges in New York. They're finding him liable. Why? Because a judge can bang the gavel. You don't have the same kind of rights. It is genuinely terrifying. However, I want to say this to you, Carl. I think we're winning.
I don't see it.
So when you look at the cultural
I'd love
shifts,
to see the evidence for it.
well, so first,
How many of their guys are in jail?
why is that the standard by which we determine if we're winning or losing?
Because you're in a
fact?
war.
What is the standard?
So the standard is economic factors and cultural factors. And I think if you look at the cultural victories, particularly pronounced ones, you can see the shift in the minds of the people and what confidence of the people will allow. Right now, Joe Biden is tanking. He's sinking in the polls. We're seeing woke corporations get decimated. We're seeing indie films skyrocket, indie artists skyrocket. We're seeing a collective of anti-establishment individuals and more people. I'm seeing on Twitter, for instance, this doctor I've retweeted who says I was wrong in 2020. I shouldn't have supported Biden. What many of us experienced, for me in particular, I think in like 2020, when my attitude towards Trump in 2016 was, get out of here with this.
I know.
My attitude later on was like, well, I'm not going to vote for the guy, but I can understand what people are saying about him. And then in 2020, yes, Carl knows. But then in 2020, I was like, the agenda he released lays out too many points that I've agreed with, and it would be hypocritical for me to say I would not support that. So that's pre-2020. Now we're seeing more people who voted for Biden in 2020 who did not have that revelation now saying, I totally get it. I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah.
I see these things, Bud Light, Target, Disney, Netflix,
We need to add
cetera, et
Marriott
cetera.
to that as well. Marriott.
Marriott?
We need to add Marriott.
What happened
to
with Marriott?
Marriott was the hotel that canceled Andy No's talk after Antifa called
right.
and harassed them.
Oh.
And so that hotel chain needs the Bud Light treatment.
But look at the rise of the parallel economy. So at first, you could argue, yes, we're losing because they're debanking people, they're censoring people, and there were attempts to counter this, right? Parler, and then they destroy Parler. But then a couple things happen. Carl, you're back on X, Twitter, X.
Yeah, but that wasn't because of any goodwill in the establishment.
No, of course not. It's because a powerful individual who views the world more closely to how we view it in terms of what should or should not be, took great risk to buy the platform to, in my opinion, pursue his personal goals, but it also had a tremendous effect of bringing back a lot of the people who are Thanos snapped out of the conversation. So now you're back on Twitter, aka
Thanks,
X. Right. So you see a move like that. Rumble, their SPAC deal, according to the Motley Fool, Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO, is a billionaire. Okay, I don't know how Chris feels about me saying that, but like the Motley Fool says, here's how many shares he owns at this price. If that's true, he's a tech billionaire. Okay, and this means when you see the tremendous support that new platforms are getting and the success of platforms like the Daily Wire with the failures, this is why I think you see what they're doing in New York. Is this going to help them? I don't think it helps them in the long run. I think there are a lot of communist, banality of evil types who will cheer for it no matter what. But I do think there's going to be a lot of regular people who are going to start going like, dude, this is freaking me out. You're scaring me. I talk to people, touch grass as it were, and I'll say something like, what do you think about, I hate Trump, screw that, don't care. And then their real attitude, the reason why they hate Trump and want him gone is they're like, I'm tired of conflict. I'm tired of the noise. I'm tired of the fighting. I want stability.
Yeah,
guess what?
This doesn't stop with Trump.
But the point here is these people don't realize. They don't realize. They think make Trump go away and they leave us alone. Wrong.
No.
That is wrong. Yeah.
But
Very wrong.
Now what I'm hearing, I'm hanging out at the poker tables and there is this lib guy and I'm talking to a guy in front of me who's like a fan. This guy chimes in when we're talking about Trump and he goes, look, hey, I hate Trump, but you know, they shouldn't be doing these suits to get him off the ballot. That's crazy. And I'm like, right, what's going to happen is these regular people who are begging for normalcy are now realizing the things they're doing with shutting down the Trump organization, prosecuting him, is the conflict.
Well,
Trump is the solution.
We have the situation where you have the people who are in power distinctly not listening to the constituents at all on any topic, on any area of governance whatsoever. So I think that's what we're seeing too, is we're seeing normal people be like, these lawsuits are bogus, you know, mutilating kids is bogus. We don't want any of that. Opening the borders and destroying our national sovereignty, that's a terrible idea. You know, you're seeing all of this stuff. And the more constituents speak out, which they are doing, you know, we see the polling, we see all of this stuff, we see people speaking out against it. And the ruling class doesn't care at all. You know, they're so used to just shoving their elitist opinions down our throats. And I say this as a, you know, recovering elitist. They're shoving this all down our throats and we're just supposed to take it. And people don't want to take it anymore. But I do wonder if we're actually winning. Like it feels a lot like being destroyed.
I think you have to be careful of listen, Trump is ahead in the polls.
Yes.
Trump is ahead in the prediction markets.
But don't you think they're going to take him out? Don't you think they're going to find a way to like...
I'm not...
That's why they're doing all of this.
It's desperation.
Yeah.
So let's
do this. Succeed? I mean, desperate crazy girls who kill you still kill you.
All right, let me pull up this story from the Post-Millennial. Biden's approval rating among Black Americans down 17 points, according to NBC. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's so bad that Washington Post downplayed their own polls, two of them, that showed Trump winning by 10 points. 10 points. CNN had a segment where they said...
now?
There were two polls. One said 10 and one said 9.
I heard one. Go ahead, sorry.
So I don't know how it works necessarily, but they have two different polls of you know, and that's what gets released to 538, or that's what 538 tracks. And so you have Biden losing. CNN running a segment where they say outright, in the 2020 cycle, we never saw Trump poll this well against Biden at all. Mm-hmm. In aggregate, Trump is beating Joe Biden. I'm imagining these people in New York, this judge, why would he bang the gavel to destroy the Trump organizations? He's crying. He's in his room, heart beating, racing, going, am I on the wrong side of history? I can't lose. We can't lose. Bang the gavel. In violation of what they once believed or whatever they thought they believed, arresting Donald Trump, arresting his lawyers, fining his lawyers. This reeks of someone crying and frantic panic.
All tyranny is a confession of weakness.
Yes.
But these people think they're fighting Nazis. Like they think they're saving the world from fascism.
But the problem is that the Nazis are the ones being honored in Canadian Parliament by the Prime Minister.
But that's a problem for us.
Well, it should be a problem for them. And then he says we have to watch out for Russian disinformation.
I don't think these people truly believe they're fighting Nazis. I believe they say that.
I think they really believe it.
I think some of them might, but I imagine a lot of these people, when you talk to, I've talked to high profile celebrities, musicians, rock stars, actors, etc., and I'm sure you guys have your experience with them as well, where they say things like, "Look, man, I can't be involved. I'll be destroyed." There are likely, in my opinion, high-profile individuals in law enforcement and the judiciary who thought to themselves, oh my God, I can't believe what's happening to my country. These people have gone crazy, but if I speak up, they'll destroy me. So I've got to just keep my head down and play along and hope I survive. But they chose the wrong side. They chose the despots who are going to lose in this country called the United States. And now they're thinking to themselves, if Trump wins, it's me. I have no choice but to do everything in my power to make sure Trump can't do that. Trump's going to lock people up. I'm hoping. I believe there's a strong possibility.
He did it last time.
Yeah, but that was different. That was Trump thinking he could play ball. And now, and it was not this crazy. It was weird. It was wild. But Trump said, no, we don't do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to arrest
It seemed
Hillary.
like the social norms were still in place, right? But now they're clearly off the table. So, I mean, if Trump does win and doesn't just jail every single one of these people, then you know it's over, right?
Do you
social
think he
norms
would
are
though?
gone.
Do you think if elected?
I don't think he's got a choice. I mean, what
But there are a lot of times that Trump has said that he would do something and he doesn't follow through. I mean, it's
totally
one of his biggest flaws, unfortunately.
I think that, but I feel like the reason that Trump behaved the way that he did when he was in office is because he believed that he would be accepted by the establishment. Remember, the only reason that he ran is because Barack Obama mocked him at the dinner. That was the last straw. That was I truly believe that was the last straw because he wanted to prove that he was worth their respect, that he had earned and was worth being among the elite. And he thought, once I'm president, they will go ahead and accept me. And that's the way he behaved. And even up to right at the very end, when he gave General Milley an award and he gave Fauci an award the day before he left office, that was because he was looking to placate them. I assume, I have to assume that he sees now that there is no route for him to be friendly. That if he gets back into office, he has to take control and he has to destroy the bureaucracy that's in there.
The point that you're making about how he believed that people would accept him, that has been Trump's fatal flaw his entire life.
100%.
I mean,
that's Dave Chappelle's joke that he came out of the house to say they're all corrupt and then went back in. I mean, he has always sort of wanted to return to the elite establishment.
But yeah, he wants that, and he's wanted that his whole career. Like none of the. He was in real estate in New York. None of the other real estate people or like the architects or the contractors or anybody, they always were talking out of two sides of their mouth with him. And he knew it. Yeah. And he hasn't liked it.
I mean, that is Trump's big problem, is the need for approval.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if there's one thing that you can say that's good about DeSantis, is he's too autistic for approval, right?
Well, people have actually, this is a common thread among liberals, saying that Ron DeSantis is quite literally, they believe he genuinely has autism.
Yeah, I know, that's why I like him. But it's just not his time at the moment. But I don't know, man. I think the problem with like relying on like the great man to take out the organized minority is that the organized minority can lose lots of times and still win, whereas the great man just has to lose once and then it's over.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he lost once.
I think it's.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, to clarify, when I say we're winning, that's not to say that we own the battlefield. It means that we have been pushed back, and finally now we have routed the advancing force, and their ranks are starting to break. That means on the battlefield we are in a weakened position, but we have begun a successful advance against this corrupt ideology, where if this trend continues, we do win.
I don't know. I think they'll find a way of screwing him. I think that.
Sure, but Trump's not the end all be all. I think Trump is an avatar of the rage felt by people in this country for a long time, and he's absorbing more and more. He's growing bigger with each and every.
I mean, I hope so.
Well, it is. I mean, the fact that Biden's approval rating among Black Americans going down at the same time, Trump is surging among Black Americans. That is one of the most terrifying statistics to Democrats. It's been reported several times. Wall Street Journal recently, in the past couple of years, said if Democrats can't maintain 20%, or 80%, if at any point the Republicans go past 20% Black support, the Democrats cannot win.
Sure.
Period.
But the argument for Trump has never been stronger. But I'm very concerned about all of the salami slice tactics that they're going to employ. The ballot harvesting and whatever else it is that they do.
But
I'm not confident.
What would make you feel confident, though? Like, what would change to make you feel confident?
I mean,
or is it just a lost cause?
Voting would have to be done in person with pottery shards, right? That would make me feel confident, right?
I don't.
While there are all these other mechanisms, I'm skeptical.
I don't think the presidency is the end all be all. And it's not what matters. I think what matters is the cultural shift.
The problem is the presidency has been accruing extra powers and more central authority over the last few decades. And so it becomes this kind of totemic influential position that legislates through executive order rather than doing things the way things should be done, right?
George Bush had a certain number of executive orders.
And then you
Obama
see
had
it
more.
just skyrocket.
Yeah, Trump had more, and now Biden has the most.
And Biden was unbelievably aggressive on the first week.
In the first day, he had 20 or something.
Yeah, and then he just carried this on, literally doing hundreds of them. So it's this is just what happens to old republics, man.
Yeah.
Power centralizes. They don't last forever.
Well, let's clarify. I'm not saying that the existing structure of the United States is preserved. I'm saying there will be something new coming from it. I believe the left are reactionary. And it's always interesting how you define how they try to define what reactionary is, right? The left will say we're reactionaries because it makes no sense.
Well, the left explicitly claim to be progressive, and they are progressive because what they're trying to achieve is communism.
Yes.
Yes.
What you're trying to achieve is classical liberalism, and that's what you had, and that's why you're trapped in this country with people who are at war with you because they literally are just psychotically obsessed with the end goal of communism, and they find any roadblock worthy of being destroyed no matter what it is.
But a component of what they do is reactionary in that they're trying to rewind the clock. I think we talked about this a long time ago, that the United States maybe not. It's one of the first countries with the concept of individual meritocracy without based on race, national origin, religion, etc. Yeah. And the left is trying to eliminate that. They're trying to rewind the clock to a time before we had this classical liberal system that allowed individual merit.
Yes, but the thing is, before and after won't be the individualistic classical liberal republic you're thinking of. But the left are not trying to go back to what was prior to the United States. They're trying to get to an idealized future that they think will come afterwards.
Technically, I would say overwhelmingly yes, but that's why I say a component, and is reactionary. That's why a lot of these words describe only specifics.
To be honest with you, you guys are the reactionaries here, right? Because you want the 1776 America.
No, I disagree.
Do you not want the 1776 America?
They had yellow fever. It was not good.
Well,
politically, technologically, obviously, you want things sort of advanced.
No, the answer is no, I don't.
Right. Okay. What are you looking for politically?
So it depends on what your definition of progressive is, right? I think that when you look at where this country was,
that's the question, right? Well, okay, they talk about we're progressives. Progressing where?
Right.
To what?
So that's why I would say no. I actually want a changed future, right? I think that we need to amend the Constitution to clarify things and make them better. Now, I understand the political realities of amending the Constitution, opening the door to your enemies coming in and destroying it.
2/3 vote or something as well.
But imagine if there's a culture war and the communists are defeated and just totally give up and they're not a question anymore, and the constitutional Republicans or Republicanists, whatever you want to call it, say, hey, how can we amend the Constitution to improve upon it so this doesn't happen again? For instance, the Second Amendment can be made to include literally any arm, any accessory. Quite literally, we need to fix things. But I also want to point out that I don't want to go back to a time pre-women's suffrage. I don't want to go back to a time when a constitution was written about the rights of men when men were enslaved. I don't want to go back to any of that. I want to see the realization of our moral values.
I wasn't speaking to the literal point of 1776.
But this is the point. We're not trying to go back.
I was talking to the spirit of the thing, right? Because obviously the amendments came afterwards. And obviously they're good. So
if we're saying reactionary as in go back to the way things were, that's a bad thing. We don't want to do that.
No. I'm not saying literally go back in time. What I'm saying is you're trying to restore the spirit of the American Republic as it was originally conceived. Because all of the good things that the American Republic was conceived of, all of the founding fathers knew would be a consequence of the American Republic. They just didn't have the political capital to be able to do it right there and then. Right,
agreed.
Like all of, not all of them, but a lot of the founding fathers owned slaves but wanted to abolish slavery and things like this, right? And so they knew that this was the path that this would end up being done on. And so you want to return to that spirit. But the thing is, the progressives have got a different interpretation of this. And they say, okay, yeah, well, we want freedom too. We want freedom from everything, right?
Freedom from hunger.
Positive freedom.
Yeah.
Right? And so their version of progress, their ideal view of the future, is essentially what you could describe as communism. It's the freedom from literally everything, and you're trapped in this country with these lunatics.
Right.
This is half your country that are absolutely fucking batshit that have stigmatized the human body itself as an oppressive thing.
Right.
Reality itself is a form of oppression. And so now what do you do with them? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, so in terms of descriptions of reactionary or otherwise, it's almost pointless because you could make the argument that everyone else is more reactionary. To what degree?
Sure, but the question is the moral loading on the terms. I mean, to be a progressive, to say, well, you want children to be completely liberated from any relationship with their own parents. That's horrible. Right? If it makes me a reactionary, say no, children belong to their parents and they should love and care for each other, then I'm a reactionary.
Well, right, but should we can be dark with it. I think we're winning. You want to know another reason why I think we're winning? Because the left is substantially more likely to abort and sterilize their children, and the right are encouraging people to have families and have kids.
The problem is they control the schools.
And also,
but look at what's happening in this country with the cultural shift with parental rights and education. Look at Loudoun County is literally 30 seconds away from this building. 30 seconds, boom, you're in Loudoun. If you want to go to where the schools are, you drive a little bit more. But the parents are showing up and they're saying, hey, we don't want this stuff. And the laws are getting passed across the board. Now, there may be conflict between the cult and the free people of the United States. Don't get me wrong, but there's a major cultural shift where this is the data that I often cite because I covered this several years ago. Mm-hmm. In the 2000s, several studies showed liberals were having 1.5 kids, conservatives were having 2.05. Surprise, surprise, 20 years later, you have Pew Research showing slightly more conservative young people, only a tiny, tiny bit.
Yeah.
Which is a marked shift because typically each generation is more progressive. Now you're seeing parental resistance to what these schools are trying to do. You're seeing more and more people like us watching shows like this and others saying outright no to this education system, advocating homeschooling and pod learning, and actively participating in their school boards. With that in mind, with the conservative base and the libertarians and the post-liberals knowing they're coming for your kids, they are in trouble because they don't have kids. The saying goes, socialists don't have kids, they have yours. But if these families have become apprised of this and have begun to push back and resist, now it's danger territory for them because they don't have kids.
I really feel like I understand what you're saying, but I feel like the left wants fewer people. So the fact that
they want fewer people, that's why they're gluing themselves to the sidewalks.
Exactly. Yeah. They want significant. I believe that they probably want around 1 million or 2 human beings on Earth. Like that's really the goal.
500.
500,000?
500 million.
500 million. Okay,
they're also doing like degrowth. They're doing
was it? Okay.
They're doing degrowth.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going. Degrowth because they don't believe that the country, the world can support it.
But let them.
But the thing about the parents, the one thing about parents, and I've talked to Moms for Liberty about this, and I've talked to other, parents' rights advocates. Parents go to school board meetings. Parents talk to teachers, parents deal with all of that stuff. And it doesn't matter that the Department of Justice called them domestic extremists. It doesn't matter that the, FBI sought to investigate parents. Parents just keep showing up because the stakes for parents are way too high. Once you have a kid, you look at your child, that's not just your future. I mean, it's their future. It's your future. It's the future of, their children. It's so much more important.
The question I have for everyone who listens to this show, do you want your children to live in the pod and eat the bugs? Yes or no?
So it's not that it can't be one. I just don't think that, I'm just going to broadly term the right, even though that is a deeply inaccurate way of characterizing it.
I call it freedom faction.
The opposite.
I like that.
It's the opposition to the left, right? That really is what we're talking about. I'm just going to characterize it as the right just for the ease of the conversation.
The resistance.
The resistance. The problem they have is if you were to look at the organizational capacity, the resources, the number of people that the left has active right now all over the place, it's staggering how much more power the left has than the right, right? I mean, the parents do have to show up, but the thing is there's only so many times they can show up. There's only so much time they can take off work. There's only so much money that they could collectively gather together to have a lawsuit against some Soros funded or whoever funded billionaire activist organization. And these people are being paid and will always be paid. And not only that, treat this like a crusading faith. And so they get up in the morning desiring to do this. You're trapped in this country with essentially a bunch of religious termites.
But I understand this. But did you know the founding fathers of the United States thought that we would lose the war for independence?
Sure.
they were saying many of the same things in a similar way. They were saying we can't possibly win.
Yeah.
You can't go against the crown. It's impossible. In fact, I was reading about Lexington and Concord, the shot heard around the world. And the reason this is considered so pivotal for the American Revolution was that prior to the battles at Lexington and Concord, which were more of just like a handful of farmers fighting cops, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
No one believed there would ever be arms raised against regulars.
Sure.
It was just no. Because you had the Boston Massacre where they're throwing rocks and stuff, basically a riot. And then, well, a lot happened, we'll put it that way. But this idea that simply because you are up against Goliath means David can't win, I just don't think is correct. I think the issue with
just a quick thing here. No one's coming to save us, though, right? You had 16,000 French troops come over.
That's true.
French and professional troops.
That's why we won.
These were the best in the world, right? The French troops at the time were the best in the world.
Right. They were at war they were fighting a war against Britain. That's not, they weren't helping us.
Where do we get that?
There's a lot of veterans in the United States.
No, but it's not literal.
Yeah, it's not literally, where is the support that's going to come externally from an interested party who actively wants to defeat the left?
It'll be the other way around. It'd be like UN troops because I brought this up
gonna
before.
But it's not literal troops. If we're talking figuratively, where's the cultural efforts?
The resources, right? The resources needed to win whatever war you're in. If it was, on sea, it'd be boats. If it's on land, it's troops. But it's culture war that we're fighting here. And it's a kind of social war that's going on. Where could the reinforcements come from? And
Well, one place they're coming from, though, is we have Gen Z. Like, Gen Z is more conservative. The kids who are coming up now are more conservative. They have a much deeper interest in, their basic rights. And also thinking that all this stuff is trash. They look at their gay teachers waving flags around and they roll their eyes with disdain.
In the analogy of the American Revolution, you're correct. We only won because of France.
But just a quick thing.
Mostly.
What's the reading level of Gen Z?
The reading level? I don't know.
Grade.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, my son over the weekend was like, "Mom, do you know Hamlet? I'm reading Hamlet," and I was like, "By all means, go ahead, read Hamlet."
Yeah, but you escaped.
Yeah, I escaped.
Don't you homeschool your kids?
Literally December, and no, I don't homeschool my child.
Do you
but look, hold on. I want to address this. In the direct analogy of the United States, we can point out the U.S. needed support. We needed help. Sure. Quebec said, no way, we're not getting involved, and they would have been the 14th colony. There were other colonies. But in this instance, I'm not so sure we actually need that. If the informed class of people in this country are continually shifting away from the establishment narrative, it's going to be more V for Vendetta than American Revolution.
Sure.
It's going to be that scene where the inspector says eventually someone will do something stupid. And then it shows the finger man shoot the little girl. And then the locals come out and say, we just don't care anymore. And they got baseball bars and crowbats.
Pretty sure V
baseball,
dies, though, right?
Baseball bars and crowbats? What the? Baseball bats and crowbars.
But V dies, though, right?
Yes, but to be honest, V chooses.
Sure.
That was kind of the point. He was done. He was tired. And so he decided to confront... what's the guy's name? The VP.
I know the guy you're
right.
talking about. I can't remember his name.
I remember Creedy.
Yeah. And I remember, was it Prospero? Was it? What was the guy?
No, Prothero was
Prothero, that was
he was the TV guy.
Yeah, I remember him.
But he was
the
TV. But anyway,
the
V didn't have to. He confronts.
Sure.
But the point is, it's not about V himself, right? You can maybe that's Trump. You can say Trump is
could be.
Jeez,
could be he's our V. But
I would love to have an AI movie generator just replace V with Trump.
My goodness.
He's like fighting and
you could do that. That technology exists.
Right. The right doesn't have the right mindset to win the war. That's the thing. Because the right's fighting to be left alone. And they're fighting to exterminate.
But I think the right is starting to see its values play out in other countries. I mean, I think of like Eastern Europe and Georgia right now. They're both very pro-nationalist, pro-natalist countries.
That Argentina guy.
Right. I mean, I think we do see it on an international scale. And so, yes, they want to be left alone, but they are seeing their values echoed other places.
Yeah, but the problem is, these are all essentially what you can just characterize as like the great men of history. Like it's one guy. Right, it's one guy who's like in Argentina. I'm going to do all this stuff. Okay, maybe you will be like an Alexander the Great and you'll conquer the entire machinery of the Persian Empire. But if you fail, that thing is just going to swallow you up, right? And so you're putting a lot on one guy. Like they don't have the organizational capacity that the left has.
Let me give you another historical reference to a conflict fought over one group trying to be left alone and one group trying to control the other. And that reference is, in American history, it's the Civil War.
Okay.
The Confederacy's initial moves were secession, leave us alone, we out.
And they lost.
And then what happened was the Union said, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Then this caused a major freak out among several more states, like Virginia, which were 2-1 in favor of staying with the Union until Lincoln was like, nah, actually, we're going to conscript people and we're going to go fight to suppress the rebellion. That triggered 4 more states to be like, this has to stop. This is funny because the Confederacy could have won in the first battle of Bull Run, but they chose not to invade D.C.
Okay.
After the Confederates won and shocked the North and pushed them back, they said, that's it, gentlemen, we got it. Now we'll be left alone. And they were wrong.
Yes.
And then, not to say anything, like the Confederacy was predicated upon ridiculous trash
obviously,
ideas.
we don't support the Confederates' ideas, but this is just an example from history of how this works. And that's the thing that I'm really concerned about because, like I just said, the people who want to be left alone, they don't win the wars.
Well, what's interesting, though, is the people who want to be left alone, we are looking at a similar sort of situation with the states' rights fight because we have a lot of states who are passing laws that are banning, trans stuff, abortion.
It's split, though.
Yeah, who are like making these...
Dangerously split.
It's dangerously split, but that's sort of what we're looking at now that abortion is a states' rights issue. The trans kid stuff is, not elucidated in the Constitution. Therefore, it's a states' rights issue. And there's other issues with regard to education and stuff like that. So we are seeing things solidify down states' lines.
Let me pull up this story. This is from the Post Millennial. New York City to pay over $1 billion to house illegal immigrants over the next 3 years. Oh, boy.
Enjoy that.
Yeah, they say with the migrant crisis in the Big Apple showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon, Mayor Eric Adams has proposed extending the city's contract with the Hotel Association of New York. The plan to house illegal immigrants until August 2026 is expected to bring the project cost since the crisis began to $1.35 billion.
My manager is having an aneurysm right now.
In New York?
As well he should be.
So people are outraged. And there's a video from this morning where the police arrest the locals protesting the non-citizens being paid and brought into their homes. Not literal homes, their neighborhoods, their communities.
Is this Roosevelt Hotel?
No, this is Staten Island.
Okay.
In
Oh,
Staten
yeah.
Island, locals came out and said,
did.
stay out of our communities, and the police arrested them. Michael Mouse is not wrong about police. Lahaina
Oh, yeah,
proved
he's
it.
totally right.
Lahaina proved it. Those cops held those cars there as children burned to death. And they don't.
The
they
police aren't on your side. They're the servants of the government.
They don't know or care. And look, people misunderstand this. They think that the idea that a cop would do this, when Michael Mellis
Look at
says,
Uvalde.
when Michael Mellis says
100%.
that police will commit, there's no crime so egregious a police officer would not commit it up into including the execution of children. What people think he's saying is that cops are smirking, being like, yes,
not what he
I will
said
go.
at all.
What he's saying is that a cop will be told, don't let these cars leave. And they go, sure thing, boss. And then they're all roasting alive. And he's like, oh, that's what's happening.
I'm just
That's what
following
Jordan
orders.
Peterson talks about with the Nazi officers.
And what people are saying now about what's happening in New York and the immigration crisis, they bring in non-citizens. They then say you can be police officers. Illinois is proposing this. They then say, how would you like to be a citizen? All you got to do is join the military, join the National Guard. Now you have loyal people with no loyalty to the Constitution or the country being promised personal gain to subjugate anyone who would stand against them.
We already have that. I mean, you can already earn citizenship if you're an immigrant.
Right, but that's not my point.
Yeah,
My point
no,
is,
if you do it en masse, we have a really big problem.
I understand that. My point is not that we allow people to become citizens through the military. That I get. My point is, if an American citizen is questioned, will you take up arms against your neighbor? They'll say no outright. No one believes that police would do these things because the assumption is the police officers are consciously deciding to harm a child. The real issue is that the police will follow orders without understanding what the full ramifications are and just do it. But there still is a problem of American versus American. But you bring in non-Americans, empower them with law enforcement capabilities and weapons, and they'll say, I literally don't care about you at all. I'm
Right.
getting mine.
And there's all of these young men, these young military age men that we see crossing the border just wandering on it and not caring
But
at all.
the
you
Biden
know?
administration will maintain that it's actually families and these poor
Right,
moms.
even though they're not. And then also what happens is these young men, in a lot of cases, when you see them with families, these are like cartel manufactured families.
Yeah, they're not
You know,
related.
they're not actually related. They're not actually involved with one another. Yeah, I think this is really scary. The Roosevelt Hotel also has been taken over by the city and is used to house migrants exclusively. And what's really interesting about that is the Roosevelt Hotel is owned by a Pakistani company. Jacqueline Toberoff for Human Events uncovered this for us. It's owned by a Pakistani company that New York City is paying for the privilege of housing migrants in it. And I'm nervous about a lot of hotels, like going to stay in a hotel in New York. Who are you going to end up being with? A bunch of people who are living there, like cooking on hot pots in the rooms and like,
You won't be able
what's
to stay in
going
those
on?
hotels. The entire so we in Britain we've been dealing with this for a couple of years now.
You guys have a barge, right? Didn't you guys set up a barge?
Nope, we've done jack shit.
No, there was a barge. Rishi
There were
Sunak put up a
talks of a
barge.
barge.
Oh,
Right.
it just didn't happen.
Yeah, nothing
I
happens.
see.
So in Britain, we're paying £3 billion a year to house them in hotels. And there's a local migrant hotel near our offices, near the Lotus Eaters offices. And we walk past there every day to go and get our lunch. And it's full of Africans who are just sitting around smoking and drinking with a very suspicious collection of bikes that are tied up. These bikes are all quite old and rusty looking. Some of them have got flat tires. These guys have been in the country 6 months. How did you get such a rusty bike in 6 months?
You don't think they brought their antique bike collection with them?
Weirdly, I don't. But this is costing us money. And if you go on the website for this particular hotel, it's just booked in perpetuity, the whole thing. Right, so the government will just book out the entire hotel in perpetuity. So you actually don't have to worry about having to share a room with them or anything. You're in no danger of that because you're just paying for their holiday
How lovely.
in perpetuity.
How lovely. So are we going to we're taking our cues from Britain on this one too.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Really quite a shame.
It's really, really annoying. And for some reason, our government won't do anything about it. But again, okay, so coming back to the previous point, what's the right plan? How are you retaking New York?
Aren't we going to build a wall?
Well, that's the
Around New York.
No,
Yeah.
but this is the thing. It comes back to the whole thing. You can't be asking to be left alone. They won't leave you
You
alone.
have-
What's the plan to take New York?
The plan, well, to take New York, I don't know of an immediate plan, but the best thing
Right,
that
okay.
I'm aware of right now is to do everything we can to get the communist influence out, the globalist communist influence out of schools right now.
Okay.
Get out. Good.
But like New York,
That isn't a soon thing. That's
No, no.
decades.
Yes.
yeah, New
Decades.
York used to have like California as well. Used to be a Republican place. Like they sat there with
Yeah,
their
we
long
had George
march.
Pataki.
They
Yeah.
had a plan and they had the money, they had the resources, and they had got the activists. They had the will to drive out their opponents, and they've done it. And they will. That will never be Republican again. Right? It will always be
And
this
Texas
kind
is
of
gonna fall.
Yeah, Texas is purple state, man. And
Yeah.
this creeping advance has always been the plan, and they're successful. So what's the right plan to roll it back? How are you taking
Have
their
you-
castles?
have you
And
played-
no one's got a plan.
No.
Man.
Have
one
you
has a
played
We need
Forbidden West?
Grendel.
No, what we need is billionaires. Do we have what are the right wing billionaires doing? Like
I completely agree.
I
Here's the
hear
thing with
so
the- here's
much
the
about
thing
the
with the-
Koch
Millionaires.
brothers.
Millionaires.
Here's
What
the-
about the
here's-
right-wing millionaires?
Here's what
where
they're
are the Koch
doing.
brothers? Where's my money? How much money have you been given?
I've been given none.
Exactly. Neither have I. Why?
Well,
you know,
To be fair, some rich guys did give me. They're cool dudes. I want to make sure this is
they
clear.
give you a handshake and a beer, right? Yeah.
No, I've been
Good
given
luck.
$1,000. Maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. I got when I was just the small YouTube channel when you had posted I was on 100,000 subs. I did have a patron who gave me $500 a month,
That's amazing.
and almost a billionaire guy.
Yeah.
But I will say there are a handful of dudes that definitely deserve credit for pushing back.
Sure.
But I will also say I question this all the time. How is it that Timcast bought 36 billboards in Times Square last year? 36 that the year. We had what's called the North End Domination, which is the entire North Tower. On New Year's, we were in the rotation of ads where every, I think, 90 seconds, the whole thing, except for the
I
McDonald's.
know. I saw the pictures. I love that you had Luke Radowski on there.
That's right, and Michael Malice.
Yeah,
And
that's
because
great.
I'm like, this is our push into the cultural spaces.
Yeah.
This the total cost, I believe, for 2 weeks of the North End Domination run with New Year's was $250,000. We are that's a lot for us.
Oh yeah.
And I'm wondering where all of these other powerful people, I'm not even talking about billionaires, millionaires.
Yep.
They're not doing anything like this.
Where are the right-wing NGOs that are training activists to have a slate of arguments and instructions in order to go into institutions and start turning them right-wing?
But I have a question for you. Have you played the video game Forbidden West? No. Horizon Forbidden West?
I have not.
Or Zero Dawn?
I haven't.
All right.
Even heard of them.
Cultural reference, but I'll keep it simple for you.
Sure.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't finished the second game that came out several months ago. The world ends. AI robots go rogue, destroy the planet. That's God. Game 1.
Yeah.
Game 2, you're in Silicon Valley, Los Angeles area, uncovering more data. You discover that there was a military operation that everybody participated in. Everyone. It was they were giving everyone weapons and saying, you must fight because we need to buy enough time for our super weapon, which will defeat the AI, the rogue swarm. And so everybody said, let's go. A young woman, a hacker, discovered there actually was no super weapon. The program was actually a terraforming operation that humanity would be killed and everyone would be grinded into paste. But they needed to make sure that everybody gave their result, gave everything they had. Because if that 60-year-old man didn't take up and fight back to buy more time, then they would not be able to build the terraforming system, which would eventually give humanity a rebirth.
Right.
The point was, many people were without hope and ready to just lay down and give up. And although they did not believe they could win, they needed to tell everyone, we are winning, you will win, do not give up. Otherwise, all is lost. So my point is this. I genuinely believe we've begun to make such massive cultural strides. Victory is genuinely possible. I think that's true. I also think it's important to point out, being as honest as I can, we cannot maintain the idea or promote the idea that we've lost already. We can't win. There's no plan and nothing you do will work, because then what happens? There was a viral tweet where someone said, no one is trying to solve the problems. They're only trying to get rich enough that the problems don't apply to them anymore. Yeah. And when you tell people you've lost and you can't win, then everyone says, well, then what am I doing?
So look, I'm not trying to say that it can't be done. What I'm saying is, given the way that the war works now, the right is just not equipped to win the war. That's the problem. Like, we know exactly how this war can be won because we can see exactly how the left is winning it. The problem is that right has just got no organizational skills and no defined end goal. Like if the right should have some clear view of what they want the country to look like, because the left absolutely have a clear view. Yep. It's just monstrous. Well, right, and they're working to implement this. And so the right knows, or should know by this point, it needs billionaire backing, it needs NGOs, it needs an army of bureaucrats, and it needs weird, obsessive people on social media to constantly reinforce every single thing this structure does. Yep. And it needs to start consciously trying to take castles, like institutions of influence, and maintain them, actively gatekeep against left-wing people infiltrating them in return, which is precisely what they do, and make sure that you look at universities where it's something like 95% of professors are left-wing. Like that, okay, well, where's the 95% right-wing ones? Where are these institutions? The right has already lost almost all ground.
Well, wait, let me tell you about, and there's one at the DeSantis had in Florida.
But let me tell you about Charlestown, West Virginia. West Virginia, the second most Trump supporting state in the country, where you have signs, not even in West Virginia, in Western Maryland, you have signs that say MAGA, Trump flags everywhere. You're in West Virginia. Sure, Jefferson County, which is the Eastern Panhandle, is still substantially more progressive with a lot more Democrats and liberals coming from D.C., but it is still majority Trump supporting. Charlestown, West Virginia passed a Pride Month resolution, and the residents are outraged and furious. But guess what? They don't vote. And so Seamus was here, and there was a large Christian Catholic procession where they protested. I don't know if it was just this issue. And I talked to a member of the city council, because there's only a handful, and I said, well, there were thousands of people protesting in Charlestown that the city passed this resolution for Pride Month. And he said, they don't vote.
Why don't they vote? Because
conservative people on the right don't organize. They don't organize. They don't. This is what we're doing, right? We're building anti-Times Square. We're building the public square. If, I say that because it sounds awesome, but, I got to talk to public square if they're happy with that. And first thing we're doing is we set up a coffee shop. And that should be opening in a few months. It's getting pushed back because of permitting. It's hard to do. And second floor, social club. Timcast members, you're going to have a blast. We're going to have, like a bar. We're going to have, card tables, whatever we can legally have. I don't know. We'll see. We're working on the card tables. You'll be able to watch movies, hang out, work on projects. Then we're going to set up Cousin T's Diner. Terrence Williams gonna have a pancake restaurant. We're gonna do Papa Jack's Pizza Shack, family pizza restaurant. We are going to create this whole strip, which is effectively a parallel Times Square, small town, protecting the generational businesses that have been there. My goal with Cast Brew Coffee, we're working with Andrew Gruel on a franchise plan, is that we get people who are interested in the mission. Here's our plan for infiltration in all of these places. We set up a coffee shop in strip malls in every major city, wherever people live and they're interested in doing it. When soccer mom, who doesn't pay attention all that much, is on her way to pick up the kids from soccer practice and says, I need to get me a cold brew. She types in her little Google map coffee and Cast Brew Coffee pops up right next to the Target. She drives in and walks in. She walks to the counter and says, I'll just do a large cold brew. And it's like, you got it. And as she's waiting, she's looking around. There's TVs on the wall playing Steven Crowder. And she's listening to the conversation from these shows, or Viva Frey, or Trigonometry. And she's sitting there, she's getting their coffee, she goes, thank you. And she looks up and they're saying, here's the video of the Burisma scandal that no one wants you to know about. Here's Joe Biden saying he did it. And she goes, huh. And that is how we get cultural hubs all throughout the country.
That's a great start. But then think about how far advanced the left are in this war.
Yep,
absolutely. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying we can't win. I'm just saying it's going to take some actual legwork.
And this is what we're doing, but I will add this. This move we are making with beginning the process by which we can franchise Cast Brew. The left has not done this. What the left has done is infiltrated existing corporations, and that's powerful. But there's something more powerful in...
They're like the parasite ants.
They don't have they don't have the support. What they have is clever strategy. They move into West Virginia, claim to be conservative, and then get on school boards and start corrupting and destroying from within. But most people oppose them. What we have is patriotism, which means people are actually willing to work on a project like this because it means something. So you're saying, like, where are the ideologues who are like gonna, just get into start working on this and just dedicate themselves to winning? They're here. And we've got tons of requests for people who want to open these shops. We just need to get it's legal paperwork in all the different states.
That's great. That's a great start, man.
Yeah, but here's where I agree with you. Timcast does not have that much money relative to
the tens of billions that they have.
But not them. I'm saying, like, I don't want to drag anyone in particular right now. But there was a meeting in Austin, Texas with billionaires and almost billionaires. And I was there with some friends, and they were talking about solutions to how do we win the culture war. And the problem was these people, and I mean this in the quite literal and most respectful sense, quite literally, I believe many of them are autistic in that they have a general light sense of autism. They don't understand social cues, social issues, cultural issues. Their entire approach was technological and analytical, and they don't understand how you win a culture war. And so I'm there with some very prominent culture warriors, and we're like, guys, listen, okay? I said, you want to win the culture war? Someone needs to just give Michael Malice like $10 million a year and just say, like, you are unleashed.
Can you imagine the damage to the left Michael Malice could do with funding?
But that is a huge thing, though. I mean, money is a huge part of it, because conservatives need to be okay with losing money in order to win elections and win culture. And right now, conservatives, for the most part, are not. They look out at the, whatever their enterprises are and they say, let me just hang on to the money. Let me just, break even or whatever. They're not really aware of the fact that if you're going to win any of this stuff, you have to be fine with losing money. All of these big leftist organizations lose money constantly.
The benefit that the left
gets. Think about BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed won a Pulitzer on the Steele dossier. They lost all their money all the time.
But
Disney too, yeah.
What the left is after, and I truly believe this, is access to power. So it's proximity is what the payment that they get. They have all
the power.
But that's why they can lose the money. That's why BuzzFeed can, because BuzzFeed doesn't care about the dollars, because the only thing money is good for is exercising power, right? Nobody wants money just because they have money. Nobody wants dollars for dollars. Nobody wants pounds for pounds. They want money because it facilitates exercising power. So if you can,
right. Look at how much money Burisma spent on Hunter Biden just to get access to his dad.
So what they're doing is essentially they're foregoing the actual cash, like BuzzFeed forgoes cash, to be in good graces with people in positions of power. And right now the right doesn't have that. Like the right has there's the only person in a position of power, not in the government, but the only person in a significant position of power that a right-leaning person could go ahead and try to get access to that could help them would be someone like Musk or maybe Joe Rogan.
I would argue too that there are conservative billionaires, conservative wealthy people who sent their children to liberal elite institutions and then are influenced to not speak out. I mean, I know personally from when I used to work as a fundraiser, there are a lot of conservatives who are saying, well, but my kids would be so upset if I donated to this or if I did that or the other.
Yeah.
And so you have this family pressure to not do anything. And I think that is sort of the cowardice we have to shed moving forward. I think ultimately there are a lot of reasons why people want to hold on to their money. And especially if you lean conservative, you tend to be family oriented. So probably you want to pass down your money to your kids. But if your kids are all voting for Joe Biden, maybe it's not good enough to hand it to them. Maybe that's not worth the investment.
That's not a good
I
plan.
mean, you'd be thinking, "Hey, why has my child become a communist and I'm a Republican? What have I done wrong? Who has done this to them?" Surely you want to take revenge on that person. Surely you want to be like, right, I'm going to make sure that person never works again. Right? How dare you do this to me? You know, that's what the right should be thinking. But the right is just like, well, I just don't want to rock the boat. Oh, leave me alone, leave me alone.
So then
the right is going to lose with this attitude.
So what do you think, aside from things that like you're doing with Lotus Eaters or like Tim's doing here, what is it that you think the right should be doing?
Right. The right should be trying to craft policy, right? But the problem with that is that you need an affirmative ideological goal in order to be able to craft a suite of policies. And the problem with not having an affirmative ideological goal is that it really comes down to, ultimately, the right has to have more than just liberalism, right? It has to be more than the government isn't allowed to tax me or take my stuff, right? It has to be, what should you do today? What should you do? And the problem with liberalism, it has no answer to that. Liberalism is an entirely negative doctrine, right? And this is why, like, Christianity was considered to be a core part of life for the original classical liberals, because that did have a normative doctrine of action.
And the doctrine of action that the left has is all any number of a variety
it's
of
world
yeah,
format.
Exactly. It's totally changing the
There's
world.
no limit to the
Disgusting.
scope of what the left need, right?
Yep.
And so the right needs to be looking at themselves and going, okay, what is it actually that the world should look like? And really what it should be is safe for children, right? That should be the watchword of the right. We're going to make the world safe for children. Oh, sorry, got some gangsters. No, they're arrested. Oh, what about human rights? Okay, repeal that. Safe for children. Oh, there's some people in El Salvador. Oh, 50,000 frog march through the street, humiliated. Back to back, heads down, whipped as they go.
The humiliation is
Safe
good.
for children, humiliation for criminals. Right, this is what the right should be saying all day, every day. If you find anything, because now suddenly you have a mandate. What are you doing over there? Oh, I'm coming over there. You're fucked. I'm getting you. Safe for children.
That's very
safe
fourth
for children.
turning.
That's really good.
Right? This is why you should put me in charge.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm just saying.
Are you looking for like a specific
That's like
position
a,
or
that's
just
like
general?
a
Just dictator
generational
for,
perspective.
just for a year or two.
Well,
mean,
I
I've got
think-
problems
You could
with
get things back on track.
I think in the spirit of the goodwill of our neighbors across the pond, when we look to this culture war and we seek an ally akin to the French that intervened on our behalf, perhaps it will be the British. Perhaps it will
maybe.
be
I'd love it if it was the case. It's not going to be because we are so fucked.
Wouldn't it be cool if we
Yeah,
could be
so-
like the British are coming and it wasn't like making jokes? We'd be like, yeah, the British are coming.
it would be nice, but this has to be the right needs its rallying cries, and I think making the world safe for children is a really great one because it encompasses literally every aspect of life.
Yeah,
like
that's a good one.
Like when I was a kid, man, you would just go out. You would just go out. You would just go, and your parents would be like, "Look, get out of the house. I don't want you around.
Yep.
You know, come back when it gets dark. Oh, you're hungry, right?"
Have you
And
read
you're-
the fourth turning? Have
No,
you
I
read
haven't,
this?
no.
So this is exactly what it's talking about. It's talking about
that's
how
great, 'cause-
our generation
Yeah.
of the sort of Gen Xers who grew
Yeah,
up kind of nomadic with our parents just having no idea where we are,
Yeah, it was great.
with literal advertisements coming on at 10 p.m. saying, "Do you know where your children are?" You know, they had to like
What crazy time we had to
our
remind you
parents
guys.
that they had children. But it talks about how that generation that grew up like that would grow up to say to the world, "Let's make it safe for children."
Yep.
That would be nice because we should be. That's the thing.
And how could you argue against it, right?
Well, exactly.
Who's
Who's arguing against it?
I can argue it. I
But
can.
this is how the left have won everything. Because they've been like, "Oh, you're a racist." I'm not a racist. You can't argue against that, right? So we need our own memetics like that.
But so I disagree with the. I agree with the general idea you're saying because I understand you and I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful to avoid snowplow parenting.
that helicopter thing.
And
creating a soft generation of weak kids who are scared of everything and scared of their own
That
shit.
then,
but
that
right
then
now-
make weak-
no,
then-
no.
that
But
then
that
make
isn't what
hard
happens.
times,
Yeah,
right? That's
with
the
us,
fourth
right?
turning thing.
But he's talking, when he says safe for children, he's saying it should be safe for children to be in the world. Helicopter parenting means that you're protecting
agree.
your children
I'm saying,
constantly.
I
So,
know what Carl means.
yeah.
and I understand
and,
Carl.
and it's a
but-
perfectly good distinction to make. But that,
Yeah.
Phil, you're exactly right. It's safe for children to go and explore.
Yeah.
Right. They're not going to get kidnapped. They're not going to fall into a gang. They're not going to
Yeah.
get drugged up. They're
And
not
it
gonna
takes-
get
But they will
whatever.
stub their
And
toe.
it takes.
Oh yeah, they'll fall out loads
They will
of
break a
trees
leg.
and
fall out loads of
They will get
Oh yeah, I fell out
acrobats
loads of
here
trees,
and
man.
there.
It takes fathers that are capable of violence to protect their society in order to make it safe for children. And that
That's like the
means
whole
that you
Twitter thing.
need men.
We got to do a moderately hard segue because I do want to talk
That's
about
okay.
Russell Brand. So this is a story we have from Yahoo. Russell Brand uncovers twisted BBC conspiracy to collaborate on big stories with other news outlets.
Does he?
It's a,
Oh,
it's
this
a-
is what
it's-
I was talking about, too.
Right. It's a funny misinterpretation of exactly what Russell Brand is actually saying. They say in what seems like an awful lot of the classic magician's trick where you direct the audience attention to one hand so you don't see what's happening in the other, Russell Brand hopped on Rumble for a new episode of his daily show, Stay Free, and revealed that apparently independent news organizations are secretly collaborating or conspiring to control global news narratives in some of the most important stories in the world. Gasp. Surely that is way worse than anything else that may be going on right now. Here's the point. The idea that news organizations were colluding with each other on stories was a scandal when it came out. It was the Journo list. Do you guys remember
this
that?
came out
Yeah.
in like 2011. This is old news.
So the Journo list, there was more than one.
Yep.
Journalists at various organizations were on a Facebook list with each other where they were sharing all the stories. Hence, all the organizations would put out the same stories around the same time. That's a scandal. It is corruption. What they're now saying
certainly
is
not a free press.
What they're now saying in the press is, oh, can you believe it? So stupid. That's totally normal. They do this.
Yeah. It's old news. This is.
But
I mean, like,
my point is, it's the cycle of first, you're crazy, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Then, even if it was happening, it's not even that bad. Then it's, well,
a good thing.
It's a good thing. And now we're at it's a good thing that news organizations all collude with each other to control the narrative.
I mean, what's the fourth estate even for? Right. Normally, it was for keeping the government honest, for
To
exposing
make
things.
money for Big Pharma.
Yeah, now
Now
it
that's
is.
the-
Right
that's the
now
goal
it's
now.
attacking private citizens. Like
So-
the NBC article, they tweeted it out, right? Going, "Oh, Russell Brand attacks the British government." Oh no, not attacking the British government. No, good.
Yeah.
Good. I hope he's got I hope he's got some
Yeah,
cannons.
I saw that too. It's like, we better rush in to protect the British government.
exactly. Oh,
I mean,
this
come
private
on.
citizens
This massive
criticizing-
monolith.
Yeah, exactly. The private citizens criticizing the government. You're an American company, aren't you in favor of that? I mean,
We're
you know.
supposed to be criticizing the government.
right,
That's what the
No,
president
American
is supposed
companies
to
don't
do.
like
Right. So let me
Exactly.
ask you as an actual Brit.
Yep.
Many people have said, because I asked, like, who cares about Russell Brand? And people are saying that it's front page tabloid news. It's a huge deal in the UK.
Yeah.
Break it down for us. What it's like in the UK.
No, I mean, it was literally on one particular day, every single paper, whether left wing or right wing, had Russell Brand as a rapist on it.
but why Russell? Is he really that big in the UK?
No, not really.
So why?
No, he's not. The thing is, there are a lot of things here, right? So Russell Brand is famous in the UK, but he's not on TV anymore, right? He hasn't been on TV for
Just
a while.
reruns.
Right. No, not even reruns, because Russell Brand got really famous in Britain probably about 20 years ago, something like that, doing a show called Big Brother's Big Mouth, right? He did a bunch of other stuff, but this was the one that I think it's the most notable. And the thing is, that's not the sort of thing you do reruns on, because it was a commentary on Big Brother, the TV show
I see.
that was on. So, you wouldn't rerun
He was
it.
just commenting on a reality show.
Yeah, exactly,
He
right?
was always meant to do podcasting.
Yeah,
Right.
no, he probably was. This was before podcasting even existed.
Exactly.
Right? And to be honest with you, right, I don't really like having to defend Russell Brand because he is fucking annoying. Right, he was right, because we only had four TV channels, and channels 1 to 3 were really boring, right? And so you're like 17, 18 years old, you got to watch channel 4. Oh, it's Russell Brand. He's so annoying. He was just insufferable. But I have to say, he has changed a lot. He has matured. And actually, I've been watching his content recently. And actually, it's quite consumable, right? And possibly because I agree that he's right on the general thrust of his message, which is, of course, anti-establishment, like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so good. I'm glad that he's sort of come over to this side. And there's a distinct advantage that he has here, because in 2015, the left was trying to say, look, we're going to use Russell Brand to reach the youth. The youth are listening to him. But actually not really so much the youth are listening to him. It's 40-year-old women who are listening to Russell Brand, right? This is, I mean, look at his messaging. His messaging is very feminine. Like, he's got a particular way with women, and you can see it in his hands and in his cadence and in the way he gives them his total focus.
And his accessorizing.
Right? Yeah. He dresses.
He
you know,
really is very
he's
femme accessorized.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, but if you think about it, actually, the way that the left works, they use middle-aged white women as kind of stormtroopers, right?
They do, absolutely.
They use them really, really
Here,
aggressively.
the wine moms,
Yeah.
that whole thing, yeah.
Because they're deeply invested in a lot of left-wing presuppositions and axioms. And
these were the feminists.
exactly, they've
Yeah.
committed their lives to these things. It's like, look, you know, I'm going to grow old alone, and I've had a bunch of abortions, and I've got triple-digit body
disturbing.
count, right?
And I have to defend my lifestyle rather than face shame and guilt.
Exactly. If you nail me on all of this, then I realize that I've wasted my life and I'm a terrible person. And Russell Brand speaks to a lot of this sort of slice of the population. And I think really they're trying to poison him against them. And weirdly enough, there are loads of like 40-year-old women who are coming out and defending Russell Brand.
Because they've been a fan of his for a long time.
They have, absolutely. And so it's interesting that he has been attacked in this way now, right? It's now that is the issue. But to be honest with you, this could have happened at any time. Because Russell Brand did these things a long time ago. And
Yeah,
he
they're
may
talking
well
about
be guilty.
2003 accusations. from
Why is
2003.
a member of parliament writing letters to various networks?
Well, that's the point. And that really is the big question, isn't it? Because you realize that the left's control is entirely predicated on a kind of magical spell that they cast over you.
Yep.
Right? It's just words. That's all they've ever used. And just the word no would have stopped all of this all the time, right? Just the word no would have stopped them at every hurdle, but they were of course like, no, oh, you're a racist, you're a bigot. And you're like, oh, God, no, don't accuse me unreasonably of, no.
But it's now-
I hope we're all past this, right? When the left accuses you of anything, it's because they hate you and want to destroy you. That's the only
just
reason they
laugh.
ever did it.
You just laugh.
Yeah, exactly. You just go, well, whatever. You know, I think you want to molest kids.
But what do you do about the advertising?
so,
what do you
we're
do
kinda
about like
gonna
taking down
stalemate.
the companies that do the advertising? A lot of like Rumble exists on advertising revenue,
No, it doesn't.
doesn't it?
Rumble right now, I think for the most part, is existing on investment.
Then
but
why is Dan Bongino freaking out?
freaking out?
Yeah,
Well,
wasn't he
the
freaking out on
longevity
Twitter?
of the
He's
company
been
is
pretty
based
upset
on
on Twitter about like the attacks on Rumble. I think for good reason.
I think Rumble is predicated. A lot of their revenue is likely coming from subscriptions. When people sign up for locals, that's a big component. They're operating off a lot of investment. And how much was Burger King even spending on Rumble with 44 million unique monthly visitors?
Nobody
right?
ever. I mean, I
No,
never saw
I just
any
think to
ads
scale
for-
to compete with YouTube, you do need the
Right.
advertiser revenue.
So,
That's the
of course,
problem.
Dan Bongino should defend the company. It would be the stupidest thing if he came out and said, I don't care about advertisers. No, he should be like, they're attacking us.
And they also went after X. They also went after Twitter.
Right.
They grabbed like 60% of the revenue. I mean, it
Yep.
does matter that these activists are going to corporations
And our boycotts are
demanding,
working.
and it's that the media companies rather are going to these corporations demanding that they retract their advertising from certain sites, and that seems to be really egregious. Like
we just give-
this
give-
concept of the good corporate citizen needs to go. We don't need good
and-
corporate citizens.
and
We need good corporations.
We give Burger King the Bud Light treatment.
Yeah, Burger King, like we
What was
keep
it,
we
Asus?
keep
Was that the other one?
Yeah, we keep boycotting things that I don't buy anyway. It's really
the
annoying.
problem, as I
can't
understand
contribute.
it, when the apocalypse happened with PewDiePie, I remember reading an article that described how YouTube's advertising model worked, and it said that there was something like 6 sort of advertising conglomerates. So a company will go to this conglomerate and say, I want however much money spent on YouTube.
Yep.
And they'll be like, right, here, we'll get it sorted for you. And so they have like stables of advertisers. And one of these apparently threatened to pull from YouTube, and YouTube then collapsed and backed down on everything, right? Because it's never been a profitable platform.
But think about this, and this is true for Elon, and Elon is doing exactly what I advocated for during the first adpocalypse. If Coca-Cola comes to YouTube and says, look, man, we got a bunch of angry emails about PewDiePie saying naughty words. If I was YouTube, I would be like, we've apologized for it. We've told PewDiePie, like, hey, man, you got to watch yourself. You can't do this. He said it was an accident. He's very sorry, but I appreciate you bringing it up. That's really great. When can we expect your renewal? And then when Coke says, no, if you don't implement these changes and do what we want, we pull. I would respond with, oh, that's too bad. Pepsi just came to us with $1 billion offer for ads. It'd be a shame if there was no advertising for Coca-Cola and it was just all Pepsi. But,
but
we can arrange that if
But
you'd
if
like.
Pepsi and Coke both send you an email.
Then my response is, so it would be really unfortunate if the largest millennial and Gen Z social media platform had all of its creators complaining all at once about how their money disappeared. And our responses, we're so sorry. It's Coke and Pepsi who made the choice not to support you. What do you think is going to happen to the younger generation when every single one of their celebrity heroes comes out and says, never buy this trash again? You want to go to war, you will lose.
None of
you
the-
need,
the problem is
you
this
need the
happened.
platforms. But
This
Elon
happened
Musk
already.
and Elon Musk, now understanding what YouTube didn't, decided to go to war and say, we will come after you. Where they're suing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, go by all means. Elon knows X is the water cooler. And if they want to pull ads, he laughs and says, we provide revenue streams to some of the most influential political commentators in the world. What do you think's going to happen when, and I'll just, me? Yo, I post pictures of Trump stroking a chicken and I get 250 million impressions per month. Yeah. That means my stupid little posts get scrolled through by people that many times. Elon knows this and he's smart. And so he can go to these advertisers and he can say, what do you think's going to happen if you pull your ads? And this guy right here, he's a liberal. He gets 1 billion views and he's a fan of ours. What do you think's going to happen when he tweets out to all of his liberal fans that you guys are betraying the spirit of what we're working on? It's going to whatever money you think you're going to lose by advertising on our platform with nasty speech, you will lose 100-fold for coming out against us.
The thing is, they'll make a moral argument that will make it justified and noble for them to lose whatever money you threaten with them to lose, right? And so they will come across as the big winners. And then they've got the entire media machine that will start saying, oh, noble, heroic,
Doesn't matter.
International corporation. Well, they've already done it. We've already
I know.
seen it.
You're saying there's a tipping point, basically.
It doesn't matter because when you look at $30 billion lost, Bud Light and Target are being sued right now by apolitical shareholders who are like, why would you do this to my money? And now you've got hedge funds and investment firms that are being like, we just lost how much percentage of our portfolio for all of our clients, and our clients are furious right now. We can't risk investing. Sell.
And
now
I
Bill
hope
Gates
that logic
steps
comes
in.
in, man.
Bill
I hope
Gates
it
steps in and starts buying a bunch of Bud Light. Probably because he's like thinking he's going to buy a dip, or he's like they need a rescue. They're
he's
starting
gonna
to turn
bail
around.
them out, yeah.
But when it comes to this, at a certain point, you must recognize that you might not have the winning hand, but you have the winning play. So I haven't made a poker reference in a long time, so I'm going to take the opportunity right now.
Yeah.
You go to a low stakes poker table, and no one believes when I say this. If I get dealt trash cards, so second best hand in Texas Hold'em, pocket kings, 2 kings in your hand, I have gotten people to fold the second best hand simply because I bet $100. And then they're like, I can't do it. It doesn't matter if I have an 80% chance to win. I don't want to lose $100 in one hand, and they will fold. And then I'll flip over 7 deuce, the worst garbage hand, and I'll say, I know I'm going to lose, but I can put pressure on. Elon Musk can look at these firms and he can say, I know we don't have near the capital to go up against all of you, but I know you're more scared of me than I am of you. Here's a better example. I remember when I was driving, I was a little kid. My dad's in a Jeep Wrangler, bare bones, steel frame, no bells and whistles. And some luxury sedan is trying to cut my dad off, and my dad laughs. And he's like, yeah, I'll call your bluff, dude. You're not scratching your luxury sedan on my hunk of junk rusted Jeep. And my dad just carried on ignoring him. So this guy's putting pressure on this guy with a really nice car. And my dad's laughing like, you think I care about this hunk of junk? So my point is this. Elon Musk might not have the best, most powerful play, but is Coke willing to take how much economic damage are any of these advertisers willing to sustain? Because Elon's like, it's my existence. I have no choice. If you want to lose 5%, fine, so be it. But if we do nothing, we cease to exist. So we will put all of our resources up against you. And you know what? You might lose $5 billion. Is the $5 billion worth it to you? And they're going to say, I don't want the headache, man. The left operates off of creating a headache for people.
Yeah.
They call and they say, whatever. So this is what happens. Because conservatives, libertarians, post-liberals, whatever, are so quick to just back down and say, please leave me alone. The left knows that applying any small amount of pressure results in a victory. If we counter that and simply say, so we were doing an event and they started calling the venue, and the venue said, screw off. We've had a bunch of this happen recently. My answer is simply, look, guys, we've worked with you for X amount of time. You make money working with us. You've gotten 30 emails, likely all came from the same person. I assure you, if you cancel, the economic hit you will take will be worse than ignoring 30 emails. And you know what's happened over the past several years? They say, we get it, we're good, don't worry about it.
The problem with all this is this isn't happening in isolation, because if it was just these things moving on the board, then yeah, you'd be totally right. But they have a huge international apparatus that's currently moving against our chess pieces.
The international part is key too.
I mean, look, it's the British government going after Rumble.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, it's states going after Rumble.
And Rumble already told, I think, France.
Yeah,
to
they're
fuck
already
off.
banned in France, right? But the thing is then you get the European Union, because France is a major player in the European Union. Then they're going to start moving against like alt tech as well. And they're just going to slowly grind us down because we don't have BlackRock backing us. You know, we don't have the media backing us. We don't have every celebrity backing us.
I don't think that matters.
I really think it does, man.
They operate off of complacency.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And it is a fact that any amount of pressure breaks the mental will of the average person who doesn't want to be involved. This is involved. This is what the left operates on.
Yeah.
So like I was saying earlier, what I've been hearing more and more over the past few years, first with 2018 into 2020, I'm talking to people and they're saying things like, I want Trump to lose because I am sick of hearing about him. I want the fighting to stop. Trump loses. It didn't stop.
Yep.
Now these people are saying they won't go away. Bring Trump back so we can crush them and finally make it stop. What people are starting to realize is the promises of the media stopping what they're doing and the government stopping what they're doing, it was never about Trump. And so now the attitude is Trump's not even president. Biden's screwing up across the board. We've got war and crisis, and they're continuing the pressure and the conflict. Why won't it stop? Trump says, I'll make it stop. And now people are starting to say, fine, the normie doesn't want to be involved. And the left used that to their advantage to get them to side with them. But then after they won, they would not stop. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing.
And so you're totally right. The argument for Trump has never been stronger, right? And it's really great that it's literally not even been 4 years yet. It's not really great, but it is the case that it strengthens Trump's argument for himself that Joe Biden has literally demolished this country, demolished the international order, demolished America's historic reputation as a world power. It's genuinely upsetting to me as a fan and friend of America to see what this country is like degraded to. And I say that as my own country's falling apart around me as well, right? It's happening everywhere. And it's part of this sort of international cabal that is doing this, right? And that's great. And it is nice that the ground has never been more fertile. But the thing is, like, a disorderly mob is no more an army than a heap of building materials is a house, right? Mm-hmm. There has to be structure and order
I agree.
and organization. And it's not that we can't win. And I'm telling you we can and we must win, but we need to start thinking about, right, okay, who's going to start doing these things? You know, who's going to start actually, right, we need someone setting up an NGO and recruiting 100 activists a month.
Now I'll tell you right now.
Stuff like that going on. I mean, if you look at Turning Point Action, you know, if you look at TPUSA, if you look at Public Square, if you look at some of the initiatives with regard to voting in the upcoming election, you have people saying, let's do ballot harvesting on the conservative side. Let's put ballot boxes in the back of churches.
Great.
That stuff all works. That stuff's all effective.
Whatever
do you know how
we
long,
need to do 100 times more of it.
You know how long the American Revolution took?
8 years or something?
20 years.
20 years, right.
Started, I believe it was 1764 was the beginning of what we describe as the Revolutionary period. And could you imagine?
And that was a little
1764.
If you look at
and then the
George
first
Washington's
battle started in 1775. And then a year and a month later, the founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. So hold on there a minute.
We didn't
You've
have a
got
constitution until 87.
A decade of people being oppressed and beaten down and nothing. And then it's 11 years later when the regulars come into Boston and say, it's a simplified chain of events. Boston Tea Party, there was the Tea Act or whatever, made it easier for the East India Trading Company.
Stamp Act, all that
Was it the
stuff?
Stamp Act? Yeah, the British Crown was trying to essentially bail out the East India Trading Company. To a certain degree, it's how we view it. And this made it more difficult for American tea producers to trade. And they're like, you're bringing in this tea from outside of here when we're trying to trade here. So they dump it into the ocean. The Crown then says, you got to pay all that back. They say, no, we don't. And they say, then you are in rebellion. And we're deploying regulars to Boston to get things under control. So then the people in Boston said, outside of the city, we're the law. Then the regulars were like, were ordered, go take their weapons away. They are not the law. And these people said, enough. And then the first shots were fired.
And there was quartering.
And nobody knows exactly who, according to the stories, they say it's not sure who fired the first shot, but I believe it was the Americans who fired on a regular and may have killed one of them. It's interesting because what I read.
It's entirely possible that we just killed some
wasn't Crispus
civilian.
Attucks the first
the-
man
Yeah,
killed?
but
It doesn't matter.
But
either
my
way.
point is, a lot of people are screaming 1776, blah, blah, and I'm like, dude, the history of the American Revolution is not like a bunch of founding fathers got together, smugly and proudly wrote these brilliant things and said, there must be independence, banged a gavel, delivered it to the king, and the king went, oh, harumph, I say. The king was sending troops to rebellious colonies for a decade before fighting actually broke out. So what we're looking at right now with the rise of public square, one of the most powerful tools.
You're making a great point here as well, because it was an awful lot of pamphleteering in coffee houses that sort of raised consciousness. And that's really what we're doing here. Like I said, the war isn't over, and it's not that we've lost. We just need to know what we need to do to win it. You know, we need to be serious about the scale of the opposition. I mean, it literally is something akin to the British Empire that we're staring down here. You know,
It's also-
giant globe-spanning
It's
It's
imperial.
also
a
important to
culture
remember
war.
that John Adams defended the British soldiers in the
Yep.
Boston Massacre because he believed in due process, you know,
Principle.
and those kinds of natural rights and freedoms.
Yeah,
I think
he believed
that's
in
really
principles.
key.
And I feel like a significant problem, and we talking about schools earlier. That's where the big disconnect is. We've raised multiple generations of children that do not hold even the founding principles. They don't even know the founding principles. They don't know why property rights are important. They don't know what happens when you take property rights away from a society. They don't know why the rule of law, like why innocent before proven guilty is important. They don't understand because they haven't been taught. They've been taught almost exclusively. The worst thing that can happen is someone could say something racist. Someone might understand what you say as being bigoted, as if the worst thing that's possible, the worst thing that they can imagine is hurting someone's feelings. And this is a massive, massive problem in our society.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
I mean, I think that's why we had what happened in Canada. I think people don't understand history. They don't understand the implications of
You mean the Nazi in Parliament?
Nazi in Parliament, because they said, oh, well, he fought Russia and we hate Russia now. Everything is measured by a modern standard, and it leaves especially the youngest generation completely lost. I think your point's completely valid. I think the right does need to decide what they are objectively building towards. If you don't have a blueprint for a building, it's going to be very difficult to come up with something. And ultimately, I think that's why the right is unable to organize, because they don't share a common vision. And I think furthermore, that's because we think, oh, well, we'll just let everyone be on their own and they'll make their own decisions and they'll have their own values and everything will be fine. And we know that's a failing system.
But I think, Tim, I think you're making a really good point that I hadn't really thought about, to be honest. That is a great point. 20-year war, man. And we're in the early stages with the coffee houses pamphleteering right now. I mean, I don't doubt that the king's men would have gone into a coffee house and taken all the pamphlets and beaten all the people in there who were spreading around that. And we're those guys who are getting whacked with the stick now. And that's fine.
But fortunately,
But we've got to carry on.
crowbats.
We've got to keep pamphleteering.
Fortunately, for those who are meeting and having conversations to this degree about winning culture war, building culture, we're not actually having the king's men come into our homes and take from us. Right. But we have a Third Amendment, so we're still protected to a certain degree. But what we are dealing with is censorship. And so they are ripping the papers from us and, kicking people out of the public square, as it were. Yeah. But I'm grateful that it is not violent conflict. And I hope that doesn't come to be. The worrying thing is with things like January 6th and with the 529 far left attacks on the White House, these things, it's worrisome. Aaron Danielson being shot twice that was his name, right? Aaron Danielson?
It was.
You mean when Michael Reinhold did it?
Shot him twice in the chest. These are scary things. And so a lot of people, I will tell you this, the last thing anyone needs right now is real conflict. What we need right now is, in the truest sense of the founding fathers, writing pamphlets and using pseudonyms and spreading the ideas and building the sentiment that eventually led to a shatter of confidence in the crown. And then the people in this country were like, look, the funny thing is, the Declaration of Independence, the reason we say that's the birth date of this country, despite the fact that it was actually, you could argue, the Treaty of Paris, which was, I think it was 1883. Was that what it was?
1883, the Treaty of Paris?
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Was it Treaty of Paris? When we were basically like, okay, that's fine, the crown will stop fighting. To the American people, the moment we said we were independent, we were. To the crown, It wasn't until
yeah, I mean, George said he would never accept it.
Treaty of Paris was signed September 3rd, 1783.
yeah.
17.
And that was the
makes more
official
sense.
end of the American War for Independence, where the British Crown finally recognized, okay, you're independent. But to us, we were independent for 6 years before that.
Sure. But I
signed
think
it?
you're totally right. Like the modern version of pamphleteering is obviously these podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So, we are all doing great work, but I think we can't be allowed to fall into complacency and think, oh, well, we don't really need to do much else, right? Because like the scope of the problem is huge.
Well, and this is the issue that some people are like, we're not winning. And they say it over and over and over again. Donald Trump said that, the election was stolen. It was stolen. And then people didn't show up to vote in Georgia. And what should have been an easily won Senate seat for a Republican went to a Democrat somehow with all the polling. And there were interviews done where guys outside were like, what's the point? They stole it anyway. And Brianna Wu said she ran Trump's statements as advertisements in Georgia. I think said in Georgia. Or she used his statements as advertisements. I don't know if it was in Georgia. Because Trump was suppressing the vote by telling people you are losing. My point is, we have gained strategic grounds. We have tremendous victories in the culture war. And now we need to, like, when the enemy is breaking ranks, you don't say, all right, that's it, everybody, time to pack. And you say charge.
Yeah.
So now, Public Square is one of the most powerful tools. And look, I've
never even heard of this. What is this?
Public Square is an app where in order to have, it's a list of businesses, and in order to be on it, you have to agree to American values. You can say, I support free speech, the Constitution, families, things like this. And so Casper Coffee is on Public Square. We're huge fans. They're sponsoring our Miami event. They, I think they did a SPAC deal, so they went public. They're tremendously successful, and they're basically creating an anti-Amazon. They're going to, you download the app.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Everyone download Public Square. You download the app, you sign up, you search for businesses in your area.
Is it only in America?
I believe it might be.
So far, but they're launching in Canada pretty soon.
Okay.
So check it out. Well, because what's it going to be? It's going to be like traditional British values in the UK. I think so. But
I mean, we can literally have the standard would be: do you agree with the values of Magna Carta? That's literally where I mean this whole thing with Russell Brand is actually a violation of the Magna Carta. Like this is literally a textbook violation.
check this out. Okay, you pull up the map, and it will show you all the businesses in your area that support your values.
That sounds great.
And so this maximizes boycott potential. So for us in West Virginia, I know a lot of businesses support our values. They haven't heard of Public Square. We got to get them to figure it out because we can pull up restaurants and we know that by them being on Public Square, for one, they're probably fans. So we know we're going to be welcome there. And we know that our money is going to go to someone who is helping their children, who believes in this country, and we keep the money in our parallel economy and we start to strip the resources from the woke corporations. Let them go.
No, dude, I'm totally on board. I think this is brilliant.
I didn't even use the near me thing. That's
I had
clever.
never even heard of this. How have I never heard
And
of
they
this?
just went, I mean, they've only been around for like a year. They went public
right.
a couple months ago. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but I can't
new,
believe
but
that
blew
no
up.
one's tweeted at me being like, dude, have you heard of this? This is right up your
But
street.
it's probably because it's not available
amazing,
in the UK.
Maybe, but I mean, I do a lot of stuff with
So
Americans, right?
with the Miami event, we're going to be giving out a bunch of. This is the plan. Okay, I'm not organizing the event. So my understanding is the people, my team who's working on it, have set up swag bags full of samples from all the companies that are on Public Square.
Brilliant.
I'm so excited.
That's great.
Yeah, and they're an official sponsor. So we're gonna have the CEO Michael Seifert. He's gonna be coming on IRL. I think the day before. And then he's going to be on stage with Hannah Claire and Josie, the redheaded libertarian, talking about all this stuff. Yeah, this is going to be super.
Oh,
epic.
Michael?
That's brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's gonna be great.
super excited. They are on the flagship in the culture war, as far as I'm concerned. An anti-Amazon, and their success is just
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Organizational capacity. That's such a good thing. Is though, the left is going to see this, right?
yes, of course.
They're going to be like, we don't think so.
What can they do?
Well, they can take you out.
All it is an app that sells jerky and
I know,
T-shirts
but
and
they'll
pancake mix.
They don't need a reason.
I agree.
Got
I
to
agree.
be real.
Parlor.
They don't need
Parlor.
a reason. Yeah, exactly right. So, there are going to be challenges ahead, but that's
Agreed.
a great idea and a great step forward.
And it exists.
And it's really great.
It's right there.
That's
Download
a
it.
really great one.
Download Public Square.
Yes,
That's
seriously.
victory right there. Let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com, click join us. The members only show is going to be spicy. We have a story that is very brutal, deals with crime and wokeness, and this one's going to be well said in the uncensored members only. So I hope you guys are there. And so go to timcast.com, click join us, sign up, $10 a month, And then we're going to have the members only show on the front page at about 10:05 or so p.m. And we're going to take calls from you guys, the members. But this is a big story that broke today that we're going to get into the nitty gritty on, and spicy story. Clint Torres says, "Howdy, people. Howdy, Clint. You got the first super chat."
Hey.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, "Tim, women who think Real Housewives is worth a wasted second of a man's life need to get back to reality, aka making sandwiches for the boys.
That's right.
Ha ha ha."
Boys, yeah.
So we were. So this is based on the segment I did about the Roman Empire thing.
Yeah.
Women being surprised that men think about the Roman Empire, but it's because in the article from the Huffington Post, the woman says, you know, a guy said that the Roman Empire offers us lessons, but so does the Real Housewives, and I don't think about that all the time. And it's like, oh man,
What lessons does the Real Housewives offer?
I've never seen it, so I couldn't tell you.
quality.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I'm not really sure that's our best argument here.
are they Real Housewives though?
I think they're probably
don't
not
know.
Real Housewives, right?
I mean, they're on reality TV, so it's all fake.
Like,
Remember
are they
when a bunch of
bringing the
them
kids
got
to
arrested?
school and they're making PBJs? And,
I don't have any idea.
Or are they like wine moms sitting around complaining about?
They're
I
just
spend too much
wealthy
time living
women
my
who yell at
actual
each
life
other.
to watch that show.
It'd be funny if we're just making fun of it because we don't know, and it's actually a super based show with women
It'd be
talking
really
about
interesting.
trad wives.
I'm willing to
They're
bet
actually
that's
talking
not,
about the Roman Empire.
Yeah, we were making that joke earlier that like doing a bit where it's a bunch of women sitting around with wine being like, well, Hitler's first mistake was invading Poland, obviously. I mean, he didn't have to, et cetera, et cetera.
I won't make the joke I accidentally made.
No. Yeah, the jokes before the show. Woof, members only.
Yeah. members only
All
for
right,
sure.
where are we at? Mr. Batalon says, "Damn, barely got here and I'm not first. Tim, what are your thoughts on Trump wanting a Glock compared to an American-made firearm?" I mean, Glocks are reliable and simple, but Trump, he should have gone American. And I think Springfield Armory, they moved out of Massachusetts because of the wokeness.
Yep.
He could have absolutely gone for like a good Springfield 1911.
I took my first class there at the armory there.
That's a bummer, man.
Smith and Wesson moved out of Connecticut too. They're in
Spring-
Knoxville,
Mass, Springfield.
Wow. The Springfield Armory,
headquarters of
dude.
both.
Massachusetts, making the guns for the revolution.
Yep.
It
And
is
now
frustrating that Trump doesn't telegraph this stuff, though, right? Because like that would have been a signal, you know, hey, I'm paying attention. I mean, he's 78 or whatever it is, so you know, maybe you can't blame him.
But he didn't actually buy the gun.
What?
Can't
Yeah.
he not
Wasn't
because
it-
he's under indictment?
They so someone tweeted that he bought the gun and then they deleted it. One of his staffers deleted it and then said he was actually just looking. He didn't actually buy it.
Because didn't have like
he's
Trump.
thinking
on
It's got a
about it.
picture of him on it. Yeah,
He
it was
can buy it. It can't be sold to him.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
It's illegal to sell a firearm to somebody who's under indictment for a crime that has a longer than a year sentence, possible as a potential, which I think is unconstitutional. And
it should be, yeah.
And there have been several federal courts that have already said it's unconstitutional. It just hasn't been officially ruled on, I suppose. All right. Where are we at? Deadeye22 says, "I may not be first, but just wanted to say I found you through Sargon of Akkad, and I found Sargon through Teal Deer."
Oh,
Wow.
deep lore here.
Yeah, deep lore. All right. Matthew Hammond says, "What significantly changed in the UK for the better after leaving the EU?"
Well, I think there's a very strong argument that Brexit hasn't really been done. And the problem that we have is the same problem that Trump had, really, that there is a massive deep state that is entirely almost Remain and does not want Brexit to be a success. And so nothing particular has changed. But the thing is as well, shortly after Brexit, there were, of course, COVID and the lockdowns. So it's actually kind of hard to extricate what the consequences of one and the other are because they happen so close together and there's been such catastrophic damage done to the world economy generally. So it's really hard to say because of what a clusterfuck the whole thing has been.
We got I'm Not Your Buddy guy says, "I'm glad I found you during Gamergate. You helped me find like-minded individuals who respect classical liberalism. Keep it up at Lotus Eaters. Cheers."
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Kyle H says, "Love you guys. I started listening to both Sargon and Tim around 2014. Definitely a positive voice in my life just out of college. Bring back TWIS.
This week
LOL.
is stupid. That's basically what the podcast is. Like
Yeah.
we've got a YouTube channel obviously called Podcast Lotus Eaters.
My 2014 content, though, was just travel stuff, doing the travel docs for Vice and then Fusion.
I
But
really
was
enjoyed those though.
Yeah, I was doing
really
a lot
liked
of the live stream stuff that I was doing was massive, and it's kind of crazy, like the shift. And I think what I learned when I started live streaming from Occupy and then traveled around doing all these different streams was that it was a live podcast on the ground. I was just talking nonstop for like 5 hours at one point during Occupy, 21 hours straight. And so people are listening to it as effectively an on the ground podcast of a real world news event. And then it wasn't until 2017, I was like, oh, I can actually do the same thing on video. I don't need to be traveling around everywhere. But more importantly, what happened was I was still traveling around, but became too recognizable. And so it was a gag to come and harass the stream and make noise. And
Same thing happened to Andy No.
right.
Like he used to do a lot of on the ground stuff. But of course now he's got like 1 million followers on Twitter, and Antifa will literally hurt him if he goes anywhere.
He got a bomb threat at his speech just in Virginia.
So
that's
he
crazy.
can't do it.
All right. Get Off My Lawn says if Newsom debates with DeSantis, DeSantis will crush him and Newsom's polling numbers will tank. I'm not so convinced. I don't know about that. I'm not convinced.
I'm not sold on that either.
Newsom is the used car salesman here. DeSantis
He's very smarmy, but he's going to be he's successful with that.
And if you like, Newsom is smarmy, but he has more charisma than DeSantis.
Yeah, well, so does my cat.
So does
more charisma than DeSantis.
It's a
And I
bummer.
like DeSantis because he's got great policies. His parental rights and education bill was 3 pages long, and it ruined the White House. It was amazing. Very good bill.
But the problem is Newsom's basically like the Californian American Psycho, right?
Yeah,
He looks
is
like
that.
the American Psycho
Quite
guy.
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
He looks like there's no humanity behind his eyes at all.
Yeah.
Well, DeSantis said when it got broached in the first place, like a couple months ago or whatever, he was like, "Sure, I'll bring my hair gel,"
That's pretty good.
which isn't bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I was like, "Ooh, hope."
But a lot of psychos are really good at manipulating people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the problem. I think that Newsom will be able to beat DeSantis on a sort of charisma battle,
Right.
And,
All right.
and I say this is like a Gen X autist. I like DeSantis because I see a lot of myself in him.
He's relatable.
Yeah, for me, but not for most people, right?
Jason Dixon says, Tim, please shut out the Discord. Again, we are building culture. We have a live watch party and interactive member-only shows. You guys, if you are not members of Timcast.com, you should become members. Not only do you get the uncensored show, which is going to be really fun tonight, but you get access to our members-only Discord, where there are watch parties, commentary, after shows. Like after we wrap the members only, they have their own after dark show in the members community. And I'm super excited for this. We're going to have a physical location. If you're a member, we will have a physical place where you can come hang out. And if you're working on music, if you're working on video games, if you're writing a book, if you want to hang out with like-minded people, actually meet people and share ideas and watch movies, that's the plan, man. That's
That
what
is so
we're building.
cool. That's one thing that I really like about it.
Maybe we'll be hanging out.
I will hang out because I live around here.
That's
now.
right.
But one thing I really like is the building of culture. That's like a huge deal to me because that's what I miss so much about New York, and that's what I miss so much about the theater community after I kind of got kicked out.
I fully expect feds to try and like come and hang out at the club, and
they will.
because they of course have memberships and they watch. We've had like Enrique Tarrio and stuff on the show.
Yeah.
But whatever, they can come hang out. The point of the club is literally to paint Warhammer figurines or whatever it
It's
is
to
you
have a
guys do.
scene, right?
Yeah.
You need to create a scene.
It's been a
Play
long
music.
time since there's been a good scene.
Right.
Like, I can identify moments in my life, like time periods in my life where I was part of like really fun scenes, and you look back and you're like, oh, that was so badass. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna
And
be.
It's just that's what you're creating is a scene. That's one thing I really like.
We're
about
gonna
what you're doing.
play. We're gonna play Magic the Gathering.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll destroy
Yes.
you.
Yeah. You're.
Mono black suicide deck, man. I'm going to ruin, ruin you by turn
But
5.
what format?
Whichever format you want.
We play Commander.
But they seem
Okay, well, I can't do it
I'll
in
have a
Commander.
cocktail. Can I just
Right.
have a
Yeah.
cocktail?
We basically
Okay.
we like. You can't keep track, and I find Standard to be pretty
Yeah,
boring.
it's too fast paced.
Modern's okay, but for the most part, Ian and I, when we do play, it's just Commander. The problem is our decks have become so perfect and powerful. It got to the point where Ian and I would roll a d20, and then whoever got the higher number, we just shake and be like, good game.
Yeah.
Because at one point, it's like, okay, should Monocrypt is banned. If you get Monocrypt and I don't, you won. So do I? We can't play with it. Okay, and then it's like, okay, well that card's got to be banned too, and then it's just we can't do it. But sorry, Carl. No, if we played Commander, you would.
Possibly in Commander, but if we play another format, I reckon okay.
See, everybody listening, you're saying like nerd stuff, but I'm telling you, we're going to have this club. We're going to bring Carl out. We're going to have just like a cool hangout playing Magic the Gathering and ordering pizza. And
And if you
watching
don't know
TV.
what that's about, you could just sit and have a cocktail with me, and that'd be fine too.
Yep. That's right. Or we'll talk about the Roman
they're
Empire.
entertaining
Yeah, I
while
can
they
talk about
podcast.
that
They're
for sure.
even more entertaining while playing D&D. I think that's
Talking
even-
smack.
or Magic or whatever
Well,
we're talking about. I don't know.
See, here's the thing.
I've played D&D before and
Right.
Vampire. I've played those games.
D&D is just hanging out, making jokes, and having fun. I've only played, I think we played like twice,
okay.
but everyone tells me that basically all Dungeons and Dragons basically devolve into lewd humor and people having drinks with their friends.
That's
yeah,
why I
basically.
played, because that was a lot of fun. That's what we did.
Yeah, it's
Whereas
like
Magic's
good
going to
stuff.
be an intense power struggle between the two of you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
D&D is tremendous fun.
Yeah, it is.
Tremendous fun. Because people think it's like you're pretending to be a wizard. Yeah, kind of, but we did a scenario, I played it like 3 times. We did a scenario where I just defied the game master, dungeon master, repeatedly, and so he made me my character drink sour milk, but then I started celebrating the delicious cheese yogurt that the drink he gave. Like,
wow.
just no matter what he said, I was just being a dick.
God, you do seem like that kind of player.
Yep, that's right.
Ooh.
The dungeon master
fun.
can ruin your day, though. You
Yeah.
get a smart dungeon master.
I know, because but it's fun because you're just making jokes the whole time. Everyone's laughing.
Jokes aside, though, somewhere that people can come out, have drinks,
Yeah.
socialize,
Play music.
Yeah, play music. I mean, if you can get one, get
Watch the
beer-
show live.
beers
Without
and
being
stuff like
afraid
that.
to
Watch
tell
shows.
people what you do for a living.
Exactly.
Like,
And just
that's
relax.
nice.
That sounds like a great investment, man.
Yeah. All right. Athrun Zala says, Carl, been a fan for a while. I miss you this week in stupid segments. They helped me get out of a woke-like phase in my 20s by showing people who had bigger, dumber gripes than me. Made me realize, is that how stupid I look? Thanks a bunch.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's pretty cool.
Baby Leg Bennett says, rip to my chicken flock. Fox got in last night, killed all of them but one. I'll be getting my revenge tonight, though. Oh, that is brutal. Chickens are
Thermal.
based, man.
How are they going to get their revenge?
With thermal and a 22.
I
So-
gotcha.
Whatever is
I've already
legal in your
contacted
area.
Phil to ask.
But we have a flag downstairs. We sell a flag, and it's styled like the Gadsden flag, yellow, and it's a rooster spreading his wings and says, stand your ground.
Oh, I like that.
And the rattlesnake was, don't tread on me. It was a symbol of, if you step on me, I will bite you. And the rooster is the symbol of, I love this. Roosters will sacrifice themselves to save their hens. And so I take issue with those using the word chicken synonymously with cowardice. And anybody who has chickens knows this. Roosters are like, they're wild.
Yeah.
Maniacs.
Yeah, they're not scared. Like, they might be scared, but they will strike. So I remember I walked into the coop and Roberto jump kicked me. I'm massive compared to him, and he's just like, get away from my girls.
They're just so stupid.
They are dumb. They are dumb, but I don't.
It's kind of adorable, though.
It's an issue of vigilance, and it's. I love dogs. Dogs represent loyalty better than anything else. The story of Hachiko the dog. You know the story? Japanese professor used to walk to the train every day with his dog, would go to school, would go teach at university. When the train came back, Hachiko would wait for him and they'd walk back together. One day, the professor was at the university, had a stroke, and died. Hachiko waited for 10 years until he died. It's more complicated than that. They tried to remove Hachiko. He'd break out, run back, and wait. So they built a statue in his honor. Dogs represent loyalty, and that is truly an amazing thing. Chickens represent, like, how would you describe it when a soldier willing to charge headfirst in the battlefield, knowing a firefighter running into a fire to save the children? A fox will be approaching a flock, and the rooster will charge full speed, knowing he'll die.
Yeah.
But the girls get away.
There's a military term for that called the forlorn hope. The first into the breach in the walls.
That's right.
You know you're dead, right? But you've got
Like
to
the
go
beaches at
anyway.
Normandy.
Yeah. But historically, there was a military term for it called the forlorn hope. You had to go in, and you were going to die, man. But you did it anyway.
Yeah.
Like all the guys hanging out in the keep when Grendel comes in.
Yeah.
And so you get a rooster like Roberto, little guy, and he's like willing to go to war with a fully grown adult human male. I'm like, I respect it.
Yeah.
I respect it. I'll kick you away, but I respect it. But yeah, we have that flag because I love that representation of you have to stand up for what you believe in.
There's chickens all in my backyard. They're not even mine.
A what?
They escape from next door and they just run all around.
It's great, right?
And I'm like,
They're
oh,
like,
look
we
at
were
that.
here first, lady.
I don't care. Like, there's that. There's a groundhog. There's a bunch of deer.
When are you going to get your own chickens? That's the real question.
I'm going to do that and homeschool my kid and run the Post Millennial all at the same time.
But you don't homeschool Charlie, so it's fine.
You should see what the struggle is. Try and get him to do his homework and practice piano and practice guitar and do
All
his
right.
reading.
Let's read this one from Mr. Obvious. It says, we aren't winning, we are resisting. It's not enough to vote in the next election. We must counter their cheating. We will have won once we are in power and have crushed our enemies. Total war.
Yeah, and just want to say, Mr. Obvious, I don't know whether he's still got a YouTube channel because he got banned. But he's a really nice chap.
Yeah, it
and,
looks like it.
Yeah,
great.
I
I
think
hope
he's
he's
still posting
done.
on it.
Super chat verified and everything.
I hope he does because well worth your time. He does great content.
Definitely is. I agree.
What is
But
There's a guy called Mr. Obvious.
Mr. Obvious,
Yeah. Mr.
yeah,
Obvious.
super chatted.
I thought he lost his channel for
We
it.
need to do the same things that Democrats did in 2020. You know, it's all by the
That's
book.
the game.
That's
the
what you
game.
do, and that's it. And then once Trump's in office, he can start weeding out corruption, arresting those who are deserving of being arrested and facing indictments, and we'll go through the legal process as we should. But it must be done. We can't do this half-assed McCarthy GOP type stuff where it's like we'll get to it, eventually. No. We're going to go in and be like DOJ, start filing.
Well, there's the
paperwork.
impeachment inquiry this week, right? Doesn't it start on Thursday?
Oh, is that it? Well, that'll be fun.
Right, I've been thinking to myself, like, you just win it, then you can fix it. Not try and fix it first and then try and win what you have. It's much more important.
Right.
Alpha Garcia says, freedom-loving trucker here. Please shout out happy birthday to my wife, Lisa. Happy birthday, Lisa.
Happy birthday,
I have
Lisa.
I have to leave out on her birthday, and I'm forcing her to watch you guys on my only day off. Well, right on. Thank you. Happy
Lisa.
birthday. She's like, is this what men think about the Roman Empire? Yeah, that's what we talk about. Where are we at? Cain Abel says, Tim, know your history about the Nazi Party and Communist Party gained control. About how the Nazi Party and Communist Party gained control. We are losing this war. They can rig the election by placing people in it. They use their own power, which they have to win. I disagree.
Yep.
I can't understand how Trump is winning in the polls. Trump, he improved after getting arrested. He's fundraised record amounts of money. That Bud Light's dropped $30 billion, that Target is dropping, that Disney's burning subscribers. Disney lost $1 billion in their last 10 movies. I don't understand how you look at all that and you're like, man, but we sure are losing. And I'm like, look, man, they're getting desperate and they're lobbing everything they have at Trump to destroy him. But that's desperate. That's the collateral damage from those moves reeks of desperation. Making a Disney movie that's woke and making a bunch of money off it, that's them winning. But that's turned around. Now they're bleeding money over at Disney. The fact that they just tried to destroy Trump's businesses, they're creating so much collateral damage. It's Pyrrhic victory. Regular people are going to look at that and say, these people have lost their minds.
Yeah, they have.
It's going to hurt them in the long run.
Definitely.
So it may be bad now, but I'm like, these are signs that your opponent is flailing in desperation.
Yeah, all I can think when you talk about that stuff is the Princess Leia quote: "The more you tighten your grasp, the more systems will slip through your fingers." I think the more that they do to put the foot down on people, the more people realize. Yeah,
grasp,
I mean,
the more
They step on they see the cockroach, they step on it, and it splatters all the eggs all over the place, deep into the carpets.
That happened to me with a spider in my mailbox. I didn't mean to squash it.
Hideous imagery.
All right.
Really not great.
Y'all Hunter says, hey, Tim, Sargon is actually how I found your channels. When you guys did that park bench sit down video all those years ago. Glad to finally see Sargon finally on the show. Thanks to both of you. That's
this is your
right.
second time, right?
No, that's my first time.
First time. Okay.
Well,
COVID lockdowns. Man.
we started when COVID was locked down, and then even after that, you couldn't travel.
Yeah.
So
you needed vaccination pass to get into this country for literally years. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
I was in Berkeley, I think,
Yeah.
and we were covering what was going on the ground. And then Carl said he was going on vacation and asked me if I wanted to produce a video that he would put on his channel. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, I don't know what I'd do, but I could do something breaking down like how the media is lying. Because I had just left. And so we did a video explaining like the different ways they manipulate. And then I went from I think I had 40-something thousand subs. And then 2 days later, I had 100. And I'm like, I remember sitting in the hotel lobby as the thing ticked over to 100. I'm like, oh, shit. And then I'm like, how do I get my silver medal? Like, what do I do? And then it took 8 months till I finally got it. And then I figured out once you get your first, you have the URL to get the rest. And all you need to do is figure out the code. And it's like, I figured out a workaround. So all my other channels, I instantly, as soon as I hit it, got the awards.
All that remains was waiting for India to clear something for a year before we got our silver.
Wow.
Yeah,
India.
I don't know why, but YouTube in India was holding something up for the band. I don't know.
Yeah, but you had
you have a
platinum
big-
already.
I know.
Do you have a big following in India?
I don't know. I didn't think so, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that there was any following, or if it was just something that had to do with the legal department or whatever.
It would be funny if Hassan has the Turkish equivalent of several platinum records. And so his criticism of you is somewhat warranted.
I can't imagine Hassan has any talent. So
I mean, if he wants to go to war over talent, call you a failed musician, it's like, What do you say? He got mad they got dunked on by a rock star, so he just
Yeah.
called you a failed musician?
So you're
right.
calling Hassan out for a rap battle?
I would
Because I would
definitely-
love to
I
see
would
that.
call Hassan out for a rap battle. You got to hear me do "Baby Got Back" at
Right?
karaoke.
Yeah. Okay, Hassan, the gauntlet's down. What are you doing, bro?
Apparently,
You ran away from Sam Hyde, but I mean,
I'm much smaller. I'm not a big guy. You can't be physically.
you're not
afraid
even
of me.
getting punched in the face this time. So got no excuse this time.
all right, let's grab some more super chats. Joseph says, "Thank you, Carl, for blackpilling this channel. They sorely need a reality check. If you really cared, you wouldn't live in a fantasy world."
So, hang on, that is a bit harsh, and I'm not trying to blackpill because you are totally right saying, look, demoralization is the worst thing that can happen, and it is. They're absolutely right. And I'm not trying to demoralize us, but I am trying to make sure that we are realistic about the scope of the problem and where we need to begin from where we are to get to where we want to be.
But you didn't know about Public Square, you know.
I didn't.
Now
No,
that
I
you
didn't.
do, now your mind's completely changed. You're
Well,
like, we've won. It's over.
Well, not quite that far.
A couple months ago, someone came on and said, "This is Grimcast." I'm surprised that we're gonna can't make anyone happy.
Not quite
That's
that
like
far.
I was on a War Room with Steve Bannon once, and I said that he was very optimistic, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, someone called me optimistic."
It's all a matter of perception, I guess.
Yeah.
But I kind of disagree. I don't think we need to look realistically at the problem and determine the scope and figure out like how we can actually tackle it, because the problem is so big and the scope is so massive that I think it would behoove us to look at it and say, we can handle that.
Spoken
and
like a
look at
true
it-
woman, Libby. I
look at
love
it with like a little bit of a fantasy involved, just so that we believe that we can tackle it.
No, there's a great quote in Blackadder where General Melcher, I don't know if you've ever seen Blackadder.
I've seen
basically,
Blackadder, yeah.
We're just going to pig-headedly ignore the facts and press on anyway.
Yeah,
basically.
that's what we need to do.
And I kind of
That's
appreciate that
basically
attitude,
it,
actually.
yeah.
There's a part of me that does appreciate that. But then there's a sort of the cold-hearted realist in me that's like, okay, but we are going to have to think about a lot of stuff.
Well, you need a couple people doing that,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
people who are actually going out there and like going for it and going to the coffee shops and
Yeah.
downloading Public Square
Yeah.
and doing all that stuff and homeschooling their kids, like they need to look at it and say like, we could totally handle this, you guys.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
just
yeah.
link
No, you're
arms
right.
and
They
go
are
for
actively
it.
handling it, to be fair.
Actively handling it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show. More importantly, head over to timcast.com, click join us. The members only uncensored show will begin in a few minutes, and we've got a spicy story, which is about the culture war, woke politics, and the ramifications pertaining to a woman who lost her life. It's going to be a little dark, but we hope to see you there. And then if you become a member, hang out in the Discord, help build culture with like-minded individuals. It's how we win. Shout out again to Public Square for sponsoring the Miami event. Download the Public Square app. Get involved. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Carl, do you want to shout anything out?
Well, just my outfit, which is loadseaters.com, and go subscribe to the podcast of Load Seaters, where we blackpill everyone all day, every day. But we also have some solutions, so that's lucky.
Right on. Libby.
Hi, I'm at Libby Emmons on Twitter. You can follow me there, and you can check out what we're doing at the Post Millennial and Human Events. And if you really want to support independent media and tell NBC and all these people to go screw off, you can do that. You can go to thepostmillennial.com/subscribe and join us, follow what we're doing, and get some honest reporting where we speak truth to power.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, the internet.
5th gold record.
5th gold record.
Wow.
Why not sixth?
Couldn't got to say, yeah.
Pardon me?
Why not sixth?
That's coming actually shortly. There's another one that's right on the
for
on the
real?
cusp too. Yeah, for really.
That's great.
Classic failed musician. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. You should follow at Timcast News on Twitter or X and Instagram. It's the best, and we're always happy to be a part of the independent media space. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Twitter at HC Brimlow, and I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and Serge is here too.
Yes, and you can find me on Twix too at Serge.com. It's a pleasure meeting you in real life, Sargon of Akkad.
Oh, thank
for
you.
real. Yeah, I've been a fan for a long time, as have these friends. And I'm excited for the after. We'll see what the questions are from the audience.
We will see all of you over at timcast.com for the Uncensored Members Show in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out.